Friends, I just pressed the Let's Go Live button, which means we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the internet before we go ahead and get started. It's a lovely Friday. Got to make sure the tubes are working on the Fridays. Sometimes they don't work. They think that it's like a holiday weekend or something, like we're just going to take the afternoon off. But we're not yet. And it looks like we're alive on YouTube. It looks like our friends on Locals are looking good. Hello to our friends on Rumble, making sure that stream's fired up today. And it looks like it is. That's tremendous news, my friends. We can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia, and today we're talking about that insane Maine secretary. Her name is Shenna. I always forget it because it's so strange. Shenna Bellows is the person who has unilaterally decided Trump's not going to be on the ballot anymore. And that's a curious thing because she's not a lawyer. She's not a judge. She's just some Secretary of State who just decided she doesn't like the guy. And so we're going to go through this in detail. This was breaking yesterday, right as we were here on the show. We were actually talking about, in yesterday's segment, why she should be recused because of all her past statements. And then she just came out and said, I'm not going to recuse myself. How about I just throw you off the ballot? And go, wow. All right, that's interesting. So we're going to go through it and see what is happening here. I want to do a little background on who this woman is. We've got a bunch of photographs of her with Obama, her with Biden, her loving up Michelle Obama, even Stacey Abrams, the toothless wonder there in Georgia. And so we'll listen to her. We've got biggest threats to America is something else this woman said. And she said that this was all, of course, people like Trump and the Trump MAGA insurrectionists and all the stuff. So we'll listen to her before we go into the opinion that she just wrote. It's a ruling, I guess. I don't know what the heck it is. And so we're going to read through it and try to parse it out. And she's, again, as I said, not a lawyer, not a judge. And I've got questions about who actually wrote this. And so if she didn't write it, I want to know who actually wrote it. So we'll go through it. CNN is responding to this, saying it's all kind of ridiculous. Thomas Massie has an update on this. He says, Congress can just reject your state electoral votes. How about that? How about we just reject you? And so we have some updates there. Donald Trump and his campaign released a statement on this that we'll be reading through. And so all that's coming up in the first segment. Then we'll jump into some reaction because there are now calls to impeach this woman, this guy, American hero named John Andrews, state representative over from Maine. He came out to explain, these positions are very partisan. We go, yeah, no kidding. They're telling us. And so he's going to explain why he is moving to impeach this woman for disenfranchising 300,000 plus Mainers. And I can't get over this, man. They were telling us that they always scream about voter suppression, voter disenfranchisement, which basically means that you have to rig elections to enfranchise people to vote for them, whatever that means, printing ballots, duplicating them, whatever. So, this guy is saying that she just gone. You're just 300,000 people. You don't get to vote for your candidate anymore. And we're going to listen to her explain this on MSNBC. And we're going to have a lot of uptalk from her explaining herself and how this all works in Maine and why she had to do it. Oh, gosh. We're going to listen to it. Then we're going to hear about no forces, she says, can undermine our elections right before she throws somebody off the election ballot, the ballots. It's like bizarro land. So we'll go through it. We've got some reaction from some politicos. Elie Stefanik, the House chair in the GOP, she released a full statement about it. We'll hear what Tulsi Gabbard had to say, and then we'll see what Vivek is up to. He's always been very forceful on these stories, and so he'll have some updates for us as well. And then in our last segment, we're going to see what's happening with this convicted perjurer liar called Michael Cohen. He apparently was the one responsible for using AI to come up with those fake cases. What a ridiculous thing. All right, so we were wondering if it was him. And we know Inner City Press was there, and Inner City Press has been following this case amazingly well, and said that Michael Cohen was very upset. Like 2 weeks ago, he was out of a hearing, and the judge, basically scolded him and said, hey, why do we have these fake cases citing in your request to terminate your probation early, right? He's been convicted for lying, and he is now trying to terminate his probation. And so he submitted this filing and he said, all this case law supports my early termination. And the judge said, wow, that's incredible, because I've never heard of those cases because they don't exist. And it turns out this guy was using AI or something, and he admits it in this new opinion that we're about to read through. So we'll go through all of that in the third segment and more. Michael Cohen, just a walking disaster. And so, as you can see, my friends, we've got a lot to get to. We also this morning had a great members only stream. We talked about Biden threatening Texas with suing them, saying that how dare you enforce your borders? How dare you protect your local sovereignty, your geographic region, you know, all the things you've been sworn to do. And that if you dare pass SB 4, we're going to sue you, because the federal government has total jurisdiction over the borders. And if they want to let tens of thousands of people just come in and claim asylum and re-ship them all over the country, well, then they're just, you know, they can do that, right? And how dare you, Texas? And so we talked about that. We read through the letter from the DOJ itself, and the whole thing is just a disaster. The border gets worse every single day. Now, we've got some housekeeping to attend to. I want to share with you a little bit more about the Watcher Lodge, watcherlodge.com. We've got a fitness challenge coming up and some other things. But before we get into it, my friends, I'm very excited about today's sponsor, our friends over at Vanish. Okay, they're incredible. This is a very fun one, and so definitely check them out. Our friends at Vanish are helping us out today. Just when I thought my gear couldn't get any better, I discovered Vanish holsters. This isn't just any holster. It's the most comfortable one I've ever strapped on. The Vanish holster fits 99% of modern handguns and holds 2 extra mag pouches, and whether you're right-handed or left-handed, it's got you covered. It's made from a durable Cordura and polyester blend, meaning it's very lightweight at just 6 ounces. But don't let that fool you. It's tough, adjustable. It's got a no-stink material, meaning you'll stay fresh all day. It fits up to a size 68-inch waist, and the best part is it's so discreet no one will know you're carrying a Vanish. And now you can be a part of the biggest giveaway we've ever had on this channel. One of you, my friends, can win this incredible Jeep Gladiator. Nice looking ride, scooting on down. And go to Vanish. The link's in the description below if you want to check that out, my friends. It is easy to click. $5,000 worth of gold thanks to Vanish. To enter, all you have to do is click the link in the description and get yourself the most comfortable holster you've ever worn with a money-back guarantee. And Vanish is not done there. Get $40 off now when you use my link below, plus 120,000 bonus entries with each purchase up until December 31st. So get your Vanish holster today by following the link below and stay strapped, my friends. All right, so thanks for checking out our friends. The link is in the description below. Go and grab your Vanish and enter into the giveaway that ends December 31st, so make your purchase. Okay, and now, my friends, so thanks for supporting them. Now I'm excited to share with you this new project, and I've been kind of, hinting at this a little bit, but it's something we've been talking about on our locals, and we are excited to unveil watcherlodge.com. And so I'd encourage you to come check this out. This is something that's brand new. We're kind of building this in public, having some fun, experimenting with this new platform, and really wanting to connect our community together. So, a lot of the time on this show, we talk a lot about problems. We talk about the downfall of America, right? Everything is kind of a disaster at the moment. And we're doing our best to make sense of it. But we also want to create and be a part of the solution, right? How do we improve our lives? How do we insulate ourselves from the rest of the madness in the world? And the word and the thing that I really want to be focusing on in 2024 is sovereignty. How do we create sovereignty in our lives in 5 different domains? Time, money, people, self, and state. Okay, these are the 5 areas we want sovereignty. And we want to be building out our knowledge base and our community connections. And we're doing that at watcherlodge.com. And so to get things started in January in 2024, we are doing a 2024 fitness challenge. And it's going to be a lot of fun, all free, but you do have to sign up, make an account over there. For the 31 days of January, we are going to be posting a thread. Now, this is what the Watcher Lodge looks like. If you go to watcherlodge.com, there's a lodge entrance where you can come and learn more about what we're doing here, who is the Watcher, the Lodge Code of Conduct, the forums, the schedule, and so on. All of this is dynamic. You can also say hello in the Lodge, where you can say what's up to your fellow Watchers here. A bunch of comments in here, 86 comments of everybody saying hello and where they're from. But this is the tab where you can get to the fitness challenge. So over the next 31 days, The idea is we're going to post a thread in this lodge room. And if you want to participate, all you got to do is just come here and drop a comment. You can see you can click this comment section right here. And people are already saying, I'm in. Okay. K Bean's talking about walking. We've got Sadie's talking about already doing it. 1229 already reporting in 1.83 miles in 38 degrees, 2.8 miles per hour in the snow. Amazing. All right. So we already started. You did your homework early, didn't you, Sadie? But thank you for, really, right? This is what we're going to be doing. A post a day, whatever type of fitness activity you want to do, whether it's walking or exercising or breathing or meditating. Bonnie's here saying, I want to exercise and walk. I'm going to count my veggies and I'm going to play with my cats, right? And healthy activities. And so we're going to be doing this, supporting each other, all for 30 days. It's all free. And if you want to sign up, we're going to have a fitness challenge launch party where you can RSVP for it. So just click the community calendar at watcherlodge.com and go here. This is the 2024 launch and just click RSVP. Okay, we're not going to be doing a stream on Monday, January 1st here, but we are going to be doing a fitness challenge and want to hear from you. We want to go through some of this, and we're going to have 31 days of some fitness fun. We've also got some other stuff here. If you want to drop some polls, see what kind of, leave some feedback. We're sharing stories here, and we're building this out very rapidly in 2024 so that we can connect at a deeper level. And so check it out, watcherlodge.com. Sign up and RSVP for the fitness challenge. We would love to see you join us. And so we also have our website, of course, robertgovea.com if you want the PDFs. We have our members only community, watchingthewatchers.locals.com, which is where we'll be going for our members only after party. We have our Saturday stream tomorrow, my friends. And so whether you're a member on YouTube or whether you're a member on Locals, we'll see you for the after party and the Saturday stream. And so now, my friends, without any further ado, let's get into it because we've got some business to attend to. Donald Trump was removed in Maine by a lefty Secretary of State who's got a long history of palling around with Democrats. We're going to learn more about this woman, the woman who made this decision on her own, wasn't a judge, wasn't a lawyer, just decided, I'm going to look around the country on YouTube and see what I don't like about Trump, and then issued this ruling, which she just said now disenfranchises 300,000 people in Maine. And what's clever about this is it's cowardly. She will virtue signal with this entire opinion and then put a little bit of a stay in there pending further action in the matter, because Trump, of course, is going to appeal this over to the Superior Court there in Maine. And so technically she's removing him, but technically he's kind of still on the ballot. Now, the danger here is that what happens if something affirms the removal? Okay, in other words, Donald Trump might be on the ballot, but when you vote for his name, that they may say that that ballot, that signature, right, his name in that location was not legitimate. So you might have a couple 100,000 people who vote for him, but they say, well, Superior Court says, no, he shouldn't have been on there. And so they relate the decision back to the original date that this was entered. So I can see that happening. I'm not sure that it will. I think hopefully the Supreme Court comes and clears this up for the whole country and gives these people their due course. But this is what this woman sounds like, and this is what her background is. This was a post over from Kanakawa the Great. You know who he is on X. I'm sure you're following him. If not, you should be. He is saying that Democrat SHENNA Bellows unilaterally kicked Trump off the ballot. She did it on her own. There was no trial. There was nothing here. And we have a prior segment on this woman about why she should have recused herself. Trump's lawyers were saying she should have booted herself off from this decision-making a long time ago because she is so biased. But these are some of the people that she was hanging out with. And you can see she posted this, looks like on Facebook. Says from SHENNA Bellows, birthday jaunt to D.C. for a Women's History Month event at the White House. And we're walking around today. There's her with Joe. So wonderful to see one of my earliest mentors, Teresa Younger, and the first female secretary, Elaine Marshall of North Carolina, at the White House reception. Amazing to meet President Biden. Grateful for the birthday wishes today. Ah, gosh. Happy birthday. Palling around with a bunch of weirdos. All right, here's another one. Happy birthday, President Obama. Here's to hope and change. Yeah. Do we have any hope and change from him? Are you kidding me? Gosh, golly. All right, so what a racket that was, wasn't it? And then here's this one. SHENNA Bellows posts this. This split screen makes me so happy. I've long admired Stacey Abrams. I've long admired her, and to get to speak to a congressional committee today about the nonpartisan leadership Maine has demonstrated on voting rights night was so meaningful. Oh gosh, Stacey Abrams, one of the biggest, victim exaggerators in the whole country, right? And she was the one, also, she's an insurrectionist, by the way, as you know, because she said that she was the rightful winner of like every single election she ever touched. She's still upset about her student council election, back in high school. I was the high school. Relax, Stacey. Okay, just move on. All right, this is another one from SHENNA BELLOWS. Okay, here this one is. I was so moved by this speech tonight. Thank you, Michelle Obama. Oh, gosh. All right. So this woman is obviously a partisan hack. And if you have any questions about it, this is what she was saying previously. And here is a report that was gathered by the Midwesterner. And he dug this up. He said, back in 2021, Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows appeared with Michigan Secretary of State. You remember her, Jocelyn Benson. And we were talking a lot about her back in 2020. And she's still around right now, We'll see what she does. But the Supreme Court in Michigan has said that they cannot remove them from the ballot. It's just a vehicle of law problem. But so Trump's currently on the ballot now, but we'll see what happens in the general. It's just it's a mechanism. It's a technical mechanism that makes him on the ballot. So she's there also with Colorado Secretaries of State also. Isn't this incredible? It's like three of the biggest anti-democratic people you've ever heard of. Maine, Michigan, Jocelyn Benson was changing all the rules in Michigan back in 2020. We covered all the election there with the Michigan Association of Retired People, right? Third parties who were funded by who knows who, all suing under COVID to change the rules. So Jocelyn Benson from Michigan, Jenna Griswold, who is in Colorado, who we just listened to earlier this week, screaming about Trump, along with Shenna Bellows. It's like the Trump removal Avengers or something. A far left conference here at Netroots Nation. And lo and behold, there's action in all of their states. It's like a conspiracy or something. Here's some insight in her philosophy. Okay, this is what these weirdos were talking about on this Zoom meeting. Oh gosh, could you imagine being on this meeting? Here's Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson. She's in her car with her AirPads. She got Jenna Griswold. She's in Colorado. Secretary Denise Merrill. Don't know where she's from. Carolyn Fiddler from the Daily Kos. Oh my gosh. And this one is Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. Oh man, the amount of just let's listen. All right, hold on.
And Secretary Bellows, would love to hear about your thoughts on the biggest threats facing our democracy at this point in time.
What are the threats facing our democracy?
Well, what Secretary Griswold just said and named is something that was unimaginable 2 years ago or 10 years ago, and that is election sabotage. It is a crystal clear example of what's happening all across the country. So we need to organize to make sure we have better leaders in positions of power to fight back against that. Secretary Benson talked about voter suppression, and that's something that when we started our careers at the ACLU and Southern Poverty Law Center.
ACLU and Southern Poverty Law Center. Okay, she's not a partisan hack.
Fighting back about systematic, structural voter oppression, targeting specifically Black and brown voters. It's rooted in white supremacy. That is something we have to continue to do work on. And Secretary Merrill talked about the fourth.
What is that? Can you please explain what it is? Let's see if she explains. What does that mean?
The People Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. We must have federal standards all across the country. And then finally, just to echo my colleagues, this is rooted in a deliberate and organized campaign to discourage people from participating in our democracy.
What? She just threw Trump off the ballot. Discouraging them from participating? Do you mean like disenfranchising 300,000 people? Do you hear these people?
It is an attack on our very democracy itself. Because
Okay, so by her own admission, she's an insurrectionist, isn't it? If you remove the ability for people to participate in the democracy, it is an attack on our democracy. And she literally just did it.
Everyone participates, everything that we care about, social justice, climate justice, economic justice, we win. Those on the other side are trying to discourage people from participating. That's what this really is about. We have to fight back to protect our democracy, to protect everything.
That's such a good point.
Such a good point. Oh, gosh. Holy moly. Okay, I don't know, this is gonna be a long show, isn't it? So that's who we're dealing with. Now, she didn't say much of anything, okay? It was a bunch of like talking points, all platitudes, one after another. Climate change, social justice, white supremacy, all the things in it. What do you mean? What is the white supremacist movement to disenfranchise black and brown voters? What is that? Like, articulate that, please, for us. What does that mean? I don't want that to be happening. So can you tell us what that means? Or does that mean that you waive signature requirements? Does that mean that you just create ballot box drop-offs or something, right? That's what they're talking about. They use these other superfluous words to then really shoehorn in what they want to get done, which is structural changes in the election that give them power. It's not about disenfranchising black and brown voters. What are you, nuts? It's about ensuring that they can print and stuff ballots wherever the hell they want them. And the FBI, when they investigate in Michigan, where there was all sorts of shenanigans there, we read the report that they tried to bury. FBI just investigates it and does nothing with it. But you see, it's like a little cabal. They should be charged with RICO for this little conspiracy to try to disenfranchise hundreds of thousands, millions of American voters. They dumped 1.3 million off in Colorado, Jenna, and they dumped another 300,000 off in Maine. And the list goes on and on. So there should be a RICO case if some Republican had the stones to do it, but they don't. And so we're going to now read the opinion from Shenna right after a quick message from our friends at Vanish. And now let's take a look at the opinion from Shenna, the person who is not a lawyer, who is not elected, who is the person who unilaterally decides Trump has got to go. This is from the Secretary of State, the ruling of the Secretary of State. Okay. Now, I do have questions about who wrote this. Do you think she sat down, the woman you just listened to, sat down and wrote 34 pages of this? Do you think so? I don't think so. Okay. Her vocabulary is not big enough. All she knows is social justice garbage. So let's go into this. She says, all right, these people called Kimberly Rosen and others are challenging this, trying to remove Trump from the ballot. There was no trial. There was no, presentation of evidence in the ordinary sense. No jurors found. This is just her. She says, okay, on December 15th, I held a hearing, whatever that is, on 3 challenges. There were several challenges and they contest Trump's nomination under the 14th Amendment. Now, the 3rd challenge was filed by this other dude. He says Trump is ineligible under the 22nd Amendment. And this woman says, for the reasons set forth below, I conclude that Trump's primary petition is invalid. Specifically, I find that the declaration on his candidate consent form is false because he's not qualified to hold office under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. So totally in agreement with the Supreme Court of Colorado and using that, as we saw, as evidence. Now, here's the procedural history, and I'm a little curious about this. They say the deadline for filing the petition was December 8th. In the first challenge, person, Marianne, is a registered voter of Winterport, said Trump violated his Oval Office. Same thing here. This guy, attorney Paul Gordon, registered voter of Portland. He says Trump is barred under the 22nd Amendment because of a 2-term limit. So that's a funny one, right? Now, we haven't seen this seriously be alleged, but this is, they said Trump says he won. And so apparently he's still the president. And so he can't run for a 3rd term. That's funny. In a 3rd challenge, this other registered voter said, of course, again, the 14th Amendment. Now let's learn about this hearing. She said on December 11th, I issued a notice of a hearing to all parties. Right? She probably has this like little room, where they're all sitting around with their coffees. And a consolidated hearing would be held on 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on December 15th. The notice that not even 8 o'clock, you can't even get started early. How long is this meeting? The notice informed the parties that the hearing would be conducted under the law, and the parties exchanged exhibits and witnesses the afternoon of December 13th. Then we received the applications and here. Now, at the start of the hearing, I denied the intervention petitions of some of these other people because they weren't here. But without objection, I ultimately accepted their submissions as briefs. Now, at the start of the hearing, I noted that the following were already a part of the record. Okay, a bunch of stuff. Trump's petition, candidate form, challenges, blah, blah, blah. Without objection, I admitted some of these challenges. Now, at the hearing, 2 people, Miss Royal and Attorney Gordon, they testified under oath. The Rosen challengers called 1 witness. Okay, so just like when they say there was a trial, there was a hearing, there was due process. This is what they're talking about. Okay, 10 a.m., sometime a couple weeks ago, she calls in these 2 people, Royal and Gordon, And they call one witness, this guy, Professor Maglioka. He goes to University of India Law. Donald Trump called no witnesses. I heard argument on the scope of my authority, and without objections, I set a deadline of 5 p.m. for any other provisions. Trump filed some articulating objections and timely responded. No other party filed objections. And it's like, oh, look, Trump didn't file anything. And this is a sham. Okay, why would he engage with this total sham fake process to throw him off the ballot? Now, I likewise permitted the parties to submit final briefs. And here you go. Following the Colorado's decision, I invited additional briefing. And we read through that full filing here. There's a full video on it where they're objecting. Actually, the people are saying after Colorado, their updated position was that this secretary is allowed to just take the Colorado case. Okay, she can just take the Colorado Supreme Court decision using issue preclusion, which is something she has no idea what it even means. And it is that she can just take it in and accept it as though it's true without having to do a trial again. Now, Trump filed briefs before the deadline on Wednesday, 16 days after he learned that I would preside over the hearing. Then Trump filed a motion to disqualify myself because you're a biased partisan hack. Well, that motion, listen to her, that motion is denied as untimely, okay? So she's just not even going to consider it. I'm not a partisan hack. You filed it late. See the rules. Timely charge of bias. You were too late. Had the motion been timely, I would have determined that I could preside over the matter. Okay, she doesn't care either way. Impartially and without bias. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure. We've got all of your other prior statements and all your other garbage. Now, my decision is based exclusively on the record before me. No way, she says, it's no way been influenced by my political affiliation or my personal views about the events of January 6th. Okay, so she throws out her recusal request. It's just, sorry, you're out of time. But I'm not biased anyways. Okay. Now, legal requirements here says a candidate needs to file a primary petition. We've got that. And that's all submitted. And here's what Shenna says to all of us. I have reviewed the exhibits submitted in this case, and I have carefully considered the arguments proffered by the parties. She says, I take my role in this proceeding extremely seriously, given both the stakes and the novel questions at issue here. And for the reasons that follow, I conclude that Trump's primary petition is invalid. Thanks, Shenna. Now, she says most of the evidence submitted is admissible. So she's going to go through some admissibility here and pretend like she knows what she's talking about. She says Mr. Trump makes a blanket objection on due process grounds, which of course is valid because there is no due process here, to the fact that he was unable to review the challenges. Now, as discussed, I already gave him a Dropbox link. And with assistance from my office, copies of evidence were also given to them during the hearing. This is such a joke. She's like trying to cope with the fact that there was no due process. And what are you talking about? We gave you copies at the hearing when you showed up and we sent you a Dropbox link. So this delay in reviewing any of the evidence, it's not a due process violation. There's no requirement that evidence be shared prior to an administrative hearing. You see that? There's no evidence. Like, you don't even get discovery in this little sham hearing that she's conducting. The APA mandates, and I got to tell you, my friends, from practicing law, administrative hearings are like this. And you often have this in DUI cases. You've got two things that happen in a DUI case: a criminal process that goes through the courts, at least in Arizona and California, and you've got a DMV process, an MVD process. And the courts are conducted according to criminal standards, like beyond a reasonable doubt and due process and all the things. But these administrative hearings, they're not. They're just like, whatever. Like the agencies can just write their own rules, essentially, and can govern them however they want. And they're like a free-for-all. Okay, I've done many of them. And it's just, it's just like a fictional thing of due process. Now, when you have a partisan hack like this, it's even less, even anything resembling what you would expect in America. But the APA, that she says, it mandates that all they do is show up, present evidence and arguments, and call and examine witnesses and make oral cross-examination there. And so Trump had those opportunities. And all the exhibits were submitted, and Trump was fully aware that they'd be offered against him at this hearing. And so there was ample notice, in part because the majority of the evidence was already presented, okay? So she didn't even accept new evidence. She said, you guys already saw this in the Colorado case. And you have the same lawyer here. So it's the same lawyers in 2 different states. Well, that's nice, but they're separate states and separate complaints with separate evidence. So are you saying that if you got charged and convicted with a crime in Colorado, you could just say, well, you did it over there, so I guess we'll just give you a DUI over here too? That's insane, but they're doing it. Now, I also afforded the parties 3 additional days after the hearing to organize their exhibits. And so his objection about due process is therefore overruled. Now, the notice provides, in stark contrast, they say Trump has handled 25 exhibits, never before referenced in this proceeding, that he cites in footnotes and other objections. And Trump has not requested that I enter these into exhibits, and nor would it be fair to do so over an objection 3 days after the hearing. So I'm not going to accept Trump's exhibits. Trump submitted an exhibit list prior to the hearing containing only 1 exhibit. He could have supplemented it, but he chose not to do so. And so therefore, I sustain their objections, and Trump's evidence is not going to be admitted anyways. Say, Mr. Trump also makes a blanket challenge to the relevance of their evidence. She says, I overruled that one too. The meat of Trump's objection is that they're using the January 6th Select Committee hearsay report as evidence, and it's not. It is a sham document that has no cross-examination, no adversarial parties there, and is all hearsay. And by the way, the evidence has not even been preserved for completeness of evidence. So Mr. Trump's objections to the admissibility of their report are overruled. And she's free to do that because it's a sham hearing. She can do whatever she wants. Now, as an initial matter, Trump's objections hinge on the rule of evidence. And guess what? As we know, it's a sham hearing. The rules of evidence do not govern this proceeding. Now, that might be true, and they do that for all sorts of reasons. It's for expeditious processing of cases, right? Like at the MVD, you don't want the MVD to have to go through a gazillion DUI cases with full evidentiary purposes and all that stuff, because it's a licensing thing, right? It's a minor thing, really. Like, you don't have a right to drive, to have a driver's license. You have a privilege. You're licensed to get that. And here, they're just going to say that you don't need this due process. So, but she admits here that the rules of evidence are not here. The rules of evidence we have written the way that we have them to abide by due process, to make sure we have good evidence, to make sure we have equal protection. And they are to create a valid and legitimate outcome. Now, she says they don't govern it, which is, I'm sure is true. But that just emphasizes what a joke it is. The fact this report includes hearsay, which she admits, the fact that it contains irrelevant facts or lacks foundation, which means it's terrible as evidence. Hearsay rules, relevancy rules, and foundation rules are not just neat things that we just do because we're bored. They make sure that the evidence is legitimate, okay, and credible, because you can cross-examine it. But she says it doesn't automatically render it inadmissible. So she's using her administrative rules to just throw it out. Rather, the central question is the type of evidence which reasonable persons are accustomed to rely on in serious affairs. And so she says, well, I rule. These people, right, these little tyrants with administrative power, says that the January 6th report meets this standard. Under the federal rules of evidence, reports of Congress are presumed admissible, she says, even though she's not adhering to the federal rules of evidence. Trustworthiness is assessed by 4 factors: the timeliness, whether the hearing was held, how it was conducted, possible motivations, and so on. And so all of these are admissible. But I am not bound by either federal or Maine rules because this is just an APA proceeding. But if I were to consider the 4 factors outlined above, I think it's admissible. Trump's objections focus primarily on the 4th factor, namely the motivation of the authors, but all congressional reports are to some degree political. Of course, yeah. And so she's going to use that to throw off her political opponent. Got it. And many of the facts contained in the report are corroborated by other evidence. And so I see no reason to exclude the J6 report. Trump's concerns are valid, though, insofar as it reflects a curated view of the evidence. And she says these limitations influence the weight that I assign to the report. But it doesn't, the report, it's either he's an insurrectionist or not, right? And she picked the decision. Now, Mr. Trump also objects to the records provided from the Colorado case. saying we can't just take Colorado's case. There was a trial there. There's no trial here. But she says here, Rosen challengers are not asking for judicial notice. They have sought to admit every exhibit individually. And the fact that the exhibits are associated with Anderson is beside the point, she says. This is sufficient, and so Trump's objection is overruled. Trump also says that there are other objections, and I sustain some of these. She says, specifically, while I'm not obligated to exclude irrelevant evidence, I do exclude some of these evidence, like speeches, town halls, and conferences. She dumps things from 2015 to 2019 and 2023. She says they're too remote in time. Okay, so it goes too far back before J6 and too far after. And so, okay, I'll leave some of that evidence out. But otherwise, all Trump's objections are overruled. If he has concerns about authenticity or foundation or completeness or hearsay or improper legal argument, they don't render these exhibits inadmissible, and I find them reliable. Now, in sum, I sustain Trump's objections to those other evidence because they're not needed here. But she says, with all that said, I have the authority to keep unqualified candidates off the ballot. She says, as a general matter, consistent with state authority to regulate time, places, and manners of the election, I'm allowed to do this. The inevitable result of states managing their own elections with respect to presidential candidates means sometimes people will not appear on ballots. For example, Biden's not going to appear in New Hampshire. But did some secretary throw him off? Is that what happened? Or was that his campaign's decision? At the same time, Mr. Chris Christie is not going to appear in Maine's 2024 ballot, even though he's going to appear on New Hampshire's. But that's because he's unqualified. Okay, he didn't get enough signatures. All right, nobody threw him off. He was just not qualified under the rules. So she's going to make that same analysis, right? So this happens all the time where perfectly qualified candidates are thrown off. No, Joe Biden made that decision, and Chris Christie failed to secure enough signatures or whatever that issue was. Similarly, while state legislatures cannot create new qualifications, they can choose to establish a process if people fail to meet the standards. Now, that is the authority, and we've explained this here before about how legislatures are so pathetic that they delegate all of their power to someone else, some other bureaucrat who's willing to take it because they're petrified about, losing elections and doing hard work. So they just delegate everything over to the executive branch, which is pathetic. Now, as the Rosen challengers note, the Secretary of State is statutorily obligated to determine if a petition meets the requirements. And there's a lot of things that I have to consider. And Maine tells me that I have to review the accuracy of a candidate's declaration. And so I therefore disagree with Mr. Trump's contention that only Congress can adjudicate the qualifications of a candidate. The state has the power to, and they have granted me the authority. It says, first, the authority is not limited to specific qualifications set forth on the consent form. And for this reason, the declaration on the 2024, which asks candidate to confirm that they meet the qualifications, Trump says that he's there. But they argue about this word as. They say Trump is saying that he should meet the qualifications to hold this office as listed above. And she says the word as is important. If the word as was not in there, it would limit the scope of Trump's claims. But its presence underscores that the qualifications are listed on the consent form as a convenience. The qualifications as listed above, consistent with the rules. Any other interpretation means I'd be reading this wrong. And second, the form separately refers to a candidate's place of residence. Counsel for Trump, who is his co-counsel, admitted at the hearing that the declaration was legally indistinguishable. And so here, I have authority, according to the forms, to keep clearly unqualified candidates off the ballot, right? I have the power to do this. Saying that Trump's false claims about the election do not disqualify him under the 22nd Amendment. Okay, so Trump has said, I've been president, right? I was elected. And so Gordon, this attorney, has said that Trump has said he's actually been elected twice. But when questioned at the hearing, Gordon said, as a factual matter, Trump did not win. And so he's actually not the president, so she skips over that. But now we get to the juicy bits. Subsection D. this insane Maine secretary says, Mr. Trump engaged in an insurrection, and that means he is not qualified to hold office. Saying the exercise of state authority to keep unqualified people off the ballot means we have to follow the process. And there's no other mechanism by which I'm aware of that Maine voters can challenge this. And so I am authorized, and I'm duty bound, she says, to follow the Constitution. Now, the question of whether this is applicable is pretty straightforward. If there's a dispute about validity of the signatures, or the candidate is underage or incorrect jurisdiction, then we may not need to take a lot of evidence because we just know, hey, you're 16, you can't run for office. But rather, I'm tasked with determining this case. Now, the secretary has wrestled with complex evidentiary issues before. She says, I'm competent. I can do this stuff. Other secretaries have done it before. We reviewed this one, which was complicated, and we reviewed this one, which was complicated, and so I can review this one. And yes, it is a little complicated, but complexity is not a limitation on my authority. And so I have the power, even though I'm not qualified and biased, to review this. Now, these statutes do not suggest I'm restricting adjudicating this, nor do I have the discretion to decline to rule on this. So I have to make a decision, and the statutes mean that I have the authority to me. The legislature has once again given me the power to do it. Saying Mr. Trump's concerns about the adequacy of this proceeding are therefore without merit. I'm qualified. I'm great. I'm who she is. He says Trump has had the opportunity to present evidence. He's been able to call witnesses. He's been able to cross-examine them and to argue at length about all the issues that are germane to my decision. And while the timeline of the proceedings has been a little bit compressed, she admits, this is hardly the first time that they've confronted the 14th Amendment, okay? So they already are familiar with this. They already did this in Colorado. They're going to have to do it again, I'm sure. And it's likewise not the first time that Trump has had to grapple with whether evidence is presented here, whether it directly mirrors his insurrection. And he has the opportunity to appeal my decision at the Superior Court and others. Now, while I'm cognizant about the fact that my decision could soon be rendered a nullity by SCOTUS, the possibility does not relieve me of my responsibility. And so I therefore conclude that I am a little dictator. I've got the authority to disenfranchise half the state. Saying Section 3 is, in fact, self-executing. We don't need Congress. We don't need an impeachment and a conviction. We just need some secretaries and some Supreme Court to just figure it out. Saying here, Section 3 refers to holding office rather than running for office. Now, Article 2's qualifications do not refer to running for office. And so my obligation is to keep unqualified candidates from taking office. Saying I'm going to do that here. Why? Because no congressional action is necessary for Section 3. She's going to give us some legal analysis, I guess. The Supreme Court described the 14th Amendment as undoubtedly self-executing. We've already seen that quote as applied to the 15th Amendment. Contemporary evidence says the same is true of Section 3. Both the military and the states themselves and blah, blah, blah. We've seen this. Now, I recognize that Section 5 of the 14th Amendment says that Congress shall have the power to enforce this. But that does not mean that the 14th doesn't have any legal force. It stands to reason, like Section 1 of the 14th, the Supreme Court has said that's self-executing. And so I'm just going to presume that this is also self-executing. Saying the presidency is also covered by Section 3. Donald Trump is an officer. Saying the Constitution repeatedly refers to the presidency as an office. At first blush, it would seem odd to interpret this as it incorporates the president, but none of these enumerated positions are offices under the Constitution. Saying the history firmly supports the idea that Section 3 covers the presidency. So this law professor, Maglioka, he comes in and he says, members of Congress believe the presidency to constitute an office. I definitely think it's an office, definitely, as did other contemporaries. Now, Mr. Trump cites an early draft of Section 3 that referred to the office of the president or the vice president before they deleted that. But the Rosen challengers say that the early draft confirmed that they intended the presidency. So they wrote it and then they deleted it. And they say, well, that means they wrote the first one is what they really meant. The language adopted was much broader, they said. And this judge says, this makes good sense. It's implausible of the drafters of Section 3 to choose to exempt the highest office in our government. It's not implausible. It is literally by design, okay? It gives the people the power to override the veto. If Congress by statute and legislature decides that nobody else can run because they've decided that, it eliminates that from the people. The people get to decide who holds that office, not the legislature. It's by design. And we've already talked about the geographic connections with the representatives and the other offices. Jay Sekulow, in a prior video in his office, put together a beautiful motion as an amicus brief to the Supreme Court. Now, the uniqueness of the president's oath does not change the calculus either. We have talked about that a lot. And the record also demonstrates that J6 was an insurrection, saying the parties don't meaningfully dispute the events of J6. There was a lockdown. There was an evacuation. It was 7 hours. 2,000 protesters entered the building. 7 hours, like 4. I mean, they came back. They voted the same night. It was a joke. The attack resulted in assaults, they say, on 174 police officers that had a strong breeze push them in the shoulder. And here, in making their case, the Rosen people rely on the proceedings. They refer back to Colorado, the Anderson case. And Magliuca defined this. He went to the American Dictionary. He called an insurrection anything rising against a civil authority. Now, Trump says that his offer of a definition is weak. Insurrection must be long enough and significant enough on the way to a rebellion. But I don't like that standard. In fact, an insurrection doesn't even need weapons, okay? Military weapons like guns and swords are not necessary for an insurrection, which is strange because I don't know how you take the country over if they've got guns and weapons and the other side doesn't. But here, the evidence shows that January 6th meets the standard. Lots of people were hurt that day. Crowd ultimately entered the Capitol after they were waved in, tapped on the shoulder, come on in. It also cannot be reasonably disputed that the rioters were organized behind a common purpose. What, to protest? The purpose is evident, not insurrect the country. They were going to walk out of there with the nuclear codes, but they were present to stop the steal, to protest a rigged election. And so she calls it a violent disruption of Congress, and that is enough. And the record demonstrates that Trump himself engaged in this. It'd be difficult to answer if Trump, it would not be difficult if he had actually been found guilty or not guilty of insurrection. Well, he's not even been charged with this, Shenna. And he also was acquitted on, he actually was found not guilty in the Senate. Did you forget about that one? The applicability does not turn on whether an office seeker has been convicted of a crime. And so I'm obligated to assess the record before me with or without any due process. And so on that basis, I adopt Professor Magliuca's decision, some law professor, that Trump engaged in insurrection and he is incitement. He incited the insurrection. And before the 2020 election, Trump sowed doubt in its legitimacy because it was illegitimate. He declared, for example, at a campaign rally that the election is rigged. It was rigged. FBI rigged it. All the state courts rigged it in collusion with the secretaries of state, many of whom we listened to earlier in this segment. So Trump repeatedly claimed 51 ex-CIA officers in obvious collusion with current CIA officers and FBI agents were censoring and rigging everything everywhere we looked. So in response to Trump's inflammatory rhetoric, a Republican election official warned Trump, stop inspiring people to commit acts of violence. He's not doing that. Never was. So this is a wild written opinion here. It says the language that Trump used was often inflammatory too. So all of this is speech. It's all free speech. But that's evidence of an insurrection according to Shenna. Trump posted some tweets and she doesn't like those. Probably keeps her up at night. Trump learned the Capitol was under attack at this time and he sat around. This is a Liz Cheney argument we're familiar with. And you see, in conclusion, this lunatic says, I do not reach this conclusion lightly. Yeah, you do. And I doubt she wrote more than 5 sentences of this, but says, I do not reach this conclusion lightly. Democracy is sacred. Democracy means the people have a participatory role. And at the highest court of this state has repeatedly recognized that no right is more precious in a free country than having a voice in the election, as she makes an opinion depriving people of the vote. I am mindful that no Secretary of State has ever deprived a presidential candidate of ballot access on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. But this is her moment to make history, okay? She's probably going to get a gig on MSNBC and a book deal. Now, I am also mindful, however, that no presidential candidate has ever before engaged in an insurrection. Now, the oath I swore to uphold the Constitution, which she is shattering in this very opinion, and my duty under Maine's election laws when presented is to ensure that qualified candidates appear on the ballot. Saying the events of J6 were unprecedented and tragic, caused by our failed security state. They were, exacerbated or instigated. They were an attack not only upon the Capitol, but also an attack on the rule of law, which is what this entire opinion is. The evidence here demonstrates that they occurred at the behest of Trump, and the U.S. Constitution does not tolerate an assault on the foundations of our government. Where does the Constitution say that? What is she talking about? Now, I conclude that the Rosen and Royal challengers have met their burden. They have provided sufficient evidence to demonstrate the falsity of Trump's declaration, and so therefore, I find the primary petition of Trump is invalid. A Democrat partisan throwing a Republican opponent off the ballot. Now, this is the most pathetic part of this whole thing, all right? She signs this like an 8-year-old who just is working on her cursive. Nice job, Shenna. And says, given the compressed time frame and the novel issues involved, the importance of this case, and the impending ballot preparation deadlines, after all of that bloviating virtue signaling garbage that somebody regurgitated out of her office, says, I will suspend the effect of my decision pending appeal. Oh, great. So he's going to be on the ballot, Section 337, until the appeal has expired. Thanks for that. Noting administrative agencies are free to fashion their own rules of procedure. Now, Trump is obviously going to be appealing this to the Superior Court, and we're going to be awaiting SCOTUS to come in and clarify this stuff. But these people are fracturing the country in real time. We're watching it happen, okay? We have now a split in the states, Colorado, and we've got Maine, who are removing him. We've got Michigan, which is currently keeping him on the ballot. And more things are percolating out there. And so an insane ruling from an insane Secretary of State in Maine who's just said, I've got the power to conduct a fake sham administrative hearing. I don't know how long the hearing was. I was hoping that we would hear that, but it started at 10, so probably over that day, right? Like before lunch probably. And she issues her ruling, and now this is where we're at. It's sick, and these people think that this is all done in the name of democracy. Again, if Trump is an insurrectionist, okay, if all of her opinions are so clear and all of this evidence is so obvious, leave him on the ballot. He'll get blown out. He'll get 10% of the vote. But nobody believes that, and they know nobody believes that, which is why they have to remove the choice from us and then say this is all in the name of democracy. Even CNN is showing that this is a total joke. Our friend ALX on X clipped this, and here is what they're talking about there.
Were the processes, were these hearings fair? Did they comport with due process? And I think there's a question there with regard to what Maine did, because if you look at the hearing, and she details this in the ruling, they heard from one fact witness, a law professor. She based her ruling on a lot of documents, but also YouTube clips, news reports, things that would never pass the bar in normal court. She's not a lawyer, by the way. It's a smartly written decision, clearly consulted with lawyers, but this is an unelected. She's chosen by the state legislature. She's
elected by the state
legislature. Elected by the legislature, but not democratically elected. Not a knock. That's just the way it's set up in Maine. And this hearing, look, it doesn't have to be a criminal trial. We don't have to have all the protections. But I think the argument you'll hear from opponents is, one, not up to the states to do this. This is why we have all different decisions from all different states. And two, the procedures were not up to snuff.
Total sham. He knows it's a sham. She knows it's a sham, but she's going to get a book deal out of it. So we'll see if she does. Now, Thomas Massie had an interesting take on this. And you remember that the House has the opportunity to reject some votes. And so Thomas Massie has a good idea. He says, Maine, Colorado, and other states that might try to bureaucratically deny ballot access to any Republican nominee should remember this. The U.S. House of Representatives is the sole and ultimate arbiter of whether to certify electors from those states. So maybe the Republicans, if they continue to control Congress in 2000 at the next counting of the presidency, that's still a year or so away. Maybe we have another person drop out, with some other scandal or whatever. But Thomas Massie has a good point on this. Maybe they just reject the votes. And yeah, that's Thomas. So I think an interesting idea. We'll see if that ultimately comes to fruition. But the Donald Trump campaign has responded to the Secretary of State's ruling. Trump says in response to being thrown off the ballot in Maine that the Maine Secretary of State is a former ACLU attorney, a virulent leftist, and a hyper-partisan Biden-supporting Democrat who has decided to interfere in the presidential election on behalf of crooked Joe Biden. We are witnessing in real time, this is absolutely true, the attempted theft of an election and the disenfranchisement of the American voter. Now, Democrats in blue states are recklessly and unconstitutionally suspending the civil rights of the American voters by attempting to summarily remove Trump's name from the ballot. Make no mistake, these partisan election interference efforts are a hostile assault on the American democracy. Biden and Democrats simply do not trust the American voter in free and fair elections. They're now relying on the force of government and their institutions to protect their grip on power. State courts in Michigan and Minnesota have rejected these bad faith, bogus 14th Amendment challenges, as have other courts in New Hampshire, Arizona, Florida, Rhode Island, West Virginia, and 10 other federal jurisdictions. We know both the Constitution and the American people are on our side in this fight. President Trump dominating campaign has a commanding lead in the polls, and that has dramatically expanded as Crooked Joe's presidency continues to fail. They say from Stephen Chung, Trump campaign spokesman, that we will quickly file a legal objection in state court to prevent this atrocious decision in Maine from taking effect, and President Trump will never stop fighting to make America great again. Boom. Nice statement there from Stephen Chung, Trump campaign spokesman. And absolutely right. It's a wild scene. You know, we're going to wake up, we're going to look backwards in hindsight, and we're going to say, oh yeah, that's when it all started, right? That's when all of the fractures started, when they, in the name of democracy, were shattering democracy, shattering 234 years of precedent with criminal charges. She admits, Shenna, never has this ever been done before, just pulling them off the ballot because they're out of options, man. They have no choice and they're freaked, which is actually pretty good news for our side. So we're going to keep on this story, my friends, covering all the Trump cases here. Thanks for checking out robertgovea.com. Don't forget to sign up for the January Fitness 2024 challenge at our new location for community activities, the Watcher Lodge. Go to watcherlodge.com, click this community calendar tab, and register for the fitness challenge in 2024 so we can all start the new year off healthy and feeling a little bit in an improvement mindset as we're dealing with all this madness and nonsense. And so we'll look forward to seeing you there. We'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Now, let's turn our attention to some reaction to this because they're telling us maybe they try to remove this person. Impeachment for Shenna is on the table. Shenna Bellows, the Trump-removing insane Maine secretary, is now under fire from this guy, State Representative John Andrews, who says that, you know, Democrats are just going to Democrat. That's all they do. They're cheaters, they're bullies, they're liars, they're stealers, and they want to censor anybody who has a good idea or even challenges their fake narrative. And so he's going to explain, you know, we're in this process of investigating whether to impeach this woman, and we're going to listen to Shenna Bellows explain her basis for removing Trump. She showed up on MSNBC, her #1 fan show page, and is very excited to talk to them. But we'll listen to some more from her. We've got reaction from House Chair Elie Stefanik. Tulsi Gabbard is responding to this, and Vivek also has a take on it. So we'll see what everybody says about it. But this guy is going to get us started. What is happening in Maine? What is the reaction to this? This guy is a state representative, and here is what he says.
The Maine Secretary of State. He joins us now. John, good morning to you. I don't think before this, many people outside of the state of Maine knew who Shenna Bellows was. So let's start by you telling us about who she is and your effort to impeach her.
Well, in Maine, the people do not elect the Secretary of State, the Attorney General, or the Treasurer. They are chosen by party insiders in the legislature. So it makes the position inherently political, and Shenna Bellows should know that. She should be going out of her way to be nonpartisan. But with this edict, Shenna Bellows has unilaterally disenfranchised 300,060 Maine voters with this partisan move. Our nation is a republic. Maine is made up of citizens and not subjects in the Duchy of SHENNA BELLOWS. But keeping people they don't like off the ballot is nothing new for Democrats. They did it to Abraham Lincoln. They did it in the Jim Crow Reconstruction South.
Barack Obama
Over
did
the
it.
decades, the Democratic Party hasn't really changed. They've just gotten much better at public relations.
Yeah.
John, you mentioned,
Nice.
you used a keyword there, disenfranchisement. And if you look back, a Twitter, now known as X post from Bellows in January of 2022, she said this: the fundamental right of any American citizen to vote freely, fairly, and to have their vote counted is the premise of our democracy. The Constitution and Bill
Unless
of
it's
Rights
Trump.
are not values to be compromised away, but yet she is not giving those voters the right to vote for their candidate, which it appears that Mr. Trump is the front runner to be the nominee in your state. So is she consumed with, drunk with power of her office, or is there some way you can connect those two opposing statements?
She's got something lined up for her.
Well, they've repeatedly cited the 14th Amendment, Section 3. And under SHENNA BELLOWS' new standard, you could argue that President Biden be barred due to Section 3, with the statement of giving aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. I'd argue that releasing billions to Iran and selling our strategic oil reserves to Chinese interests could qualify that if no convictions are required under SHENNA BELLOWS' new rules.
Yes.
And that's why this is such a dangerous game that she's created.
Yeah.
John, I spend a lot of time in Maine. I've got friends up there in northern Maine. I know the state from the areas I go to pretty well, which is that there are a lot of conservatives, maybe not Republican voters, but conservative Americans in the state of Maine. Your state house is broken down, favors Democrats pretty heavily, but a healthy amount of Republicans. The Senate, a little bit wider margin there. And you've got a Democrat governor. What are the repercussions if this Secretary of State goes through with this and it isn't settled legally? What are the voters in Maine going to think about it?
She opened the door to election chaos. I really don't think that we can have somebody as partisan as SHENNA BELLOWS being in charge of our elections going forward. I think even extremely progressive Democrat Jared Golden said that she's in the wrong, that he doesn't like Trump, but he should be on the ballot. And I applaud him for saying that, because he's correct. It's the right,
Absolutely.
It's the right move. And Shenna is trying to jockey herself for the 2026 governor Democratic primary. I'm sure this will be made into a fundraising email in the years to come. I'd put money on that.
Yeah, because she's going to be under attack, right? I'm under attack. The Republicans are attacking me. She's going to make a ton of money and be seen as a Democrat hero.
Yeah, you're right. This is getting bipartisan criticism from both Democrats and Republicans. What are the people of Maine saying to you? I know that this just happened, but have you spoken to any voters?
I was up till about 1 last night answering every phone call I got, and the voters of Maine have had enough. I think for the first time in a long time, we have a real shot at a Republican majority in this state.
Wow.
And I would urge everybody out there, even independents who lean conservative, get out there, vote Republican. You know, I like Ramaswamy and all the things he's been saying, but I think everybody in Maine now is all aboard the Trump train. Let's go.
Right.
The area I frequent is certainly on the Trump train. I can tell you from the signs I see on the side of the road up there. So
Probably going to be just more support for him, right? People are realizing that Trump has been accurate. All of this political gamesmanship, all of these prosecutions, the weaponization of our government at every single layer has been happening. The left and the media have been saying it's all fake, but when they do this, right, they expose themselves. Like, we can all see who they are because it's just naked and open. But this was the same woman. She shows up, Shenna Bellows, shows up on MSNBC to have a conversation about her anti-democratic, tyrannical behavior. And this is what Lawrence O'Donnell sounded like when he was talking to her.
Of State, Shenna Bellows. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Madam Secretary. Really appreciate it. We just heard Yale historian Professor Blight saying that you got the 14th Amendment exactly right. And he is the highest authority on the 14th Amendment as a historian that I'm aware of.
I never even heard of the guy. What are you talking about?
He says you got the 14th Amendment exactly right. As you approached this, how did you do your fact-finding that you could then apply to the law?
She didn't. She read the January, didn't even probably read it, incorporated the January 6th report, and then called a witness from a law school in Indiana.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. And I think for your viewers tonight, it's really important to understand.
Yeah, they're idiots.
Maine
MSNBC.
And the fact that at different states, as a general matter, states have inherent authority over the ballot, and states manage their own elections differently. Different states have different laws regarding ballot access. In Maine, if a candidate is qualified for the ballot, any registered Maine voter may bring a challenge. And then as secretary, I must in fact hold an administrative hearing.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm a hearing officer, not an advocate, to hear both the perspective of the candidate and the challenger. They present evidence, they present witnesses, there's ability to cross-examine the witnesses and contest the evidence. And then my decision is based solely on the record of the hearing, on the exhibits and the witness and testimony presented.
You're a law professor and the
So
January 6th
that is how I must
report
make my determination.
and YouTube videos.
Maine law requires that I make a determination about access to the ballot and issue that determination within 5 days of the conclusion of the proceeding. So I was duty bound
I had no
to
choice.
follow Maine law,
I had to save us, our country.
ensure that candidates, all the candidates who appear on the primary ballot are qualified for the office they seek.
Okay, so what evidence did you look at?
I see you relying on
January
the
6th report.
proof that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection is that he took no timely action to stop it. And that is an actual fact of the history that we know. That fact has been.
He took no timely action. Okay, these people, how do you define timely there, Chris? We've got questions about that. You're substituting your judgment. You don't know what Trump was doing back then.
Established by the January 6th committee
Who
and
cares?
by other
Illegitimate.
investigations of that day. And Donald Trump has never once suggested that he did anything at all during the time when he is accused of doing nothing to stop the insurrection. That seems to me to be a key element of the evidence you had to consider.
That's the evidence, is that Trump didn't respond quickly enough. So you're substituting your judgment for the presidency. You're not allowed to do that. You don't just get to make that up.
My decision is 36 pages. I encourage people to read it on
We
the
did.
Secretary of State
We did. We read it. It's
website.
garbage.
The weight of the evidence.
You didn't write it either.
All of the evidence made clear that Mr. Trump was aware of the tinder laid by a multi-month effort to delegitimize a Democratic election, the election of 2020, and then chose.
It was illegitimate. He's allowed to have that opinion. We sat here and watched it. That is the process of America. Okay, we have differences of opinions. We debate them in the public. The people can vote, and then the people live with the results, right? And in this current case, they shoved Joe Biden in there in front of us. And so Trump has every right to say it was rigged.
To light a match on January 6th and then did nothing for a time. The evidence presented demonstrated, and remember the events of January 6, 2021,
Yeah.
and this was borne out by the evidence, were unprecedented and tragic. They were an attack not only upon the Capitol and on the government officials there,
What was
members
it?
of Congress,
Say it.
former vice president,
say
but
it.
also an attack on the rule of law.
Okay, there it
And
is.
the evidence demonstrated that they occurred at the
I thought she was going to
behest
say
of
democracy. She said rule of law. Same thing. Go ahead.
and with the knowledge and support of the outgoing president.
She didn't say anything.
Maine Secretary of State SHENNA Bellows, who made history today, thank you very much for joining our discussion tonight.
Thank you.
All right, cut that one short. That was a 5-minute segment. He's like, she's terrible. She's not even saying anything. Bunch of fake platitudes. Now, what's funny is she talks about that. I have no choice, right? I'm duty bound. He says, you made history. You're probably going to get a job here. We'll have you back on as a contributor at some point. But this is what she said previously. No forces can undermine our elections. This is the same woman. Listen to how deluded they are and how much their positions change based on whatever they need to get done. Here is Miss Bellows.
But that type of activity, so make no mistake, what we saw nationwide around the country in 2020 that created anxiety about whether the will of the voters would be heard.
It was not.
Is those forces that would undermine our elections and the integrity of our elections and democracy are still very much at work nationwide.
Yeah,
But
it's you. It's you, Shenna. You're the force. You are the only person who is disenfranchising hundreds of thousands of people. Not us. You, along with the 4 Supreme Court justices in Colorado, are doing the same thing. So it's wild that they'll lecture us about democracy. This clip came from Matt Wallace, and it's just exactly who they are. So what is the reaction here? House Chair Representative Elie Stefanik, she posted this. She said, my full statement on the unconstitutional removal. She's the conference chair for the Republicans. She says, today, House Republican Chair Elie Stefanik released the following statement. Says, another day, another illegal and corrupt act by the desperate radical Democrats weaponizing government against President Trump. Joe Biden's top political opponent, the far-left Democrat Maine Secretary of State, just unilaterally removed President Trump off the ballot. This is election interference. This is voter suppression. This is a blatant attack on democracy, saying the Supreme Court must overturn this unprecedented and unconstitutional action now. And so this case is not at the Supreme Court. Currently, it is working its way up to the Superior Court in Maine, and then from there, I'm sure they'll appeal it to the state Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals, and then to the Supreme Court. And it's going to cost Trump time and money and effort, and it's going to gobble up a lot of campaign resources and legal fees. Now, ultimately, I think it might actually help him. He's spending his money on legal defenses, but it's almost like free marketing, and everybody just goes, wait, what? Are you kidding me? They're throwing him off the ballots? That's kind of insane, right? Even if you're middle of the roader, what are they doing that for? Because they don't want you to vote for him, because they're freaked out about him, because he is going to do something that they don't want to do, which is change the direction of the country. And so Tulsi Gabbard was also responding to this. This is what she sounded like when she was speaking about this on the mainstream news.
This move by the Secretary of State in Maine, they want Trump off the ballot.
I think it's really important, Pete, for every single American who's seeing this news alert popping up to recognize how dangerous this is. You have a Secretary of State who is a known partisan, who is known to be against Trump. She supported the impeachment of Trump, single-handedly making this decision to say the former president cannot be on the ballot, taking away our right as voters in this country to decide who we want to serve as our next president and commander-in-chief. You take away the party labels, you take away the names of Trump versus Biden. Recognize how dangerous this is, where if this is allowed to stand, one person gets to take away the voices and the rights of every single American to engage in our democratic process. That is literally what is at stake here. So whether people like Trump or don't like Trump, or like Biden, don't like Biden, that's not the point here. If you're a Democrat or Republican, now is the time that we as Americans must stand up for our democratic process in this country and our right and our voices to decide our future.
She's right. I wish more people were talking like that. She's a former Democrat, I believe. And so she is awakening to what that party has done. And lastly, we've got Vivek. Vivek has always been front and center. He's even argued that he's going to just remove himself from the process in protest if Trump is not on the ballots. And here is his reaction.
But I would say that this is not an action of one person. This is the action of an entire system that has an anaphylactic reaction to one man. And I think they're dropping the breadcrumbs. They're making it clearer by the day. I'm concerned that they will not allow this man to get anywhere near the start line of the election, let alone the finish line. And I say this as somebody who's running in the same race as Donald Trump. This is not how we should want to win. So I stand by the pledge I made earlier on the back of the Colorado decision, and I reiterate it today, that I will voluntarily, as a Republican candidate, remove myself from any GOP primary ballot where one of my competitors, Donald Trump included, is forcibly removed through this unconstitutional maneuver. And I think one thing that the other Republican candidates can do, Kaylee, is to fight against this, to say that Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley and Chris Christie do the same thing, that if Maine is going to do this, we then take Maine out of the GOP primary process. That's the logical way to handle this. And so I made that announcement tonight. I challenge every one of my other competitors in the GOP primary to do the same thing, to say that we will not stand by idly and watch this brazen form of election interference in the GOP primary itself. And I think that that's not a left-wing or a right-wing issue. It shouldn't be. This is about the Constitution and who we are as Americans. And that's why I've taken the position I have.
It's a good position. I think that it is showing solidarity that the process is garbage. And he's hopeful that there will be some reaction maybe from the party. You know, what are the Republicans doing? Are they going to boot Michigan or Maine out of the primary process? Or they just, everybody kind of just goes along and gets along? Because a lot of people would like to see Trump off the ballot in the Republican governance, right? People at the top, I think, would be thrilled if they could boot Trump off the ballot. They just can't figure out a way to do it without alienating and wrecking the party and the country. And so we'll be here continuing to cover this and more, my friends. This is just warming up. These battles are going to go on for the next foreseeable future. And so we'll be here continuing to cover. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for sharing this video with a friend or family member, inviting them to come over to our live stream. And we'd also love to invite you over to our newest project called the Watcher Lodge. And you can go here to this website. It's at watcherlodge.com. And here, we'd love it if you joined us for our 2024 Fitness Challenge. You can click this Fitness Challenge tab below. We talk a lot about some heavy stuff on this channel, but we want to start 2024 off right, de-stressing ourselves and engaging in some very good behaviors, because we're going to have a long year ahead. And what better way to do it than by jumping into fitness? And so we're going to be posting threads at the lodge, watcherlodge.com. We're going to have our launch party on the 1st, and you can RSVP here. It's all free. Click the community calendar and come over there and sign up for the lodge. We're going to be doing our launch party fitness challenge on January 1st. We'll not be streaming here on this channel, so come and say hello at the lodge, watcherlodge.com. We're trying to also be a part of the solution and make sure that we have good health and good wellness and sustainability into 2024 and beyond, because there's going to be a long road ahead, and we want to make sure we're all here together. So come check it out, watcherlodge.com. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Now, we got one final segment on the day, and look who it is. Oh my gosh, what a loser. Michael Cohen, convicted perjurer and now an admitted fake case submitter. Now, I don't know where he got his fake case law. Might have been ChatGPT or some other AI tool, but boy, oh boy, has he been busted. And now he submits an affidavit and making the admission that, yeah, I was the person who crafted this. Remember, for background, Michael Cohen has already been convicted for perjury, and he wanted to get off probation a little bit early. And so he sent, apparently, a motion in through his lawyer and said, can we please get my probation terminated early? And the judge said, I'm happy to take a look at it. Michael Cohen said, you should grant it because this case says so, and this case says so, and this case says so. But the judge read the cases, looked them up, and they didn't exist. They were made up. They were fake cases. And now we learn Michael Cohen was the one who generated them. Womp, womp, womp. So this is the filing. You see, it's a 25-pager, and this is from Michael Cohen's lawyer. It goes to the Honorable Jesse Furman out of the Southern District of New York, where Cohen's probation case is currently held. This is the attorney on behalf of Cohen submitting this, representing Cohen. So remember that Cohen had one lawyer, so it was Michael Cohen, and he had a representation with Mr. Schwartz was representing him. But that is not who this person is. Schwartz was the original lawyer, and these two filed their motion together. But now the judge has asked for an order to show cause. And that is, you guys are in trouble. So now these two have split. So Cohen got a new lawyer. That's this person, who is E. Dania Perry. And E. Dania Perry is now, so we'll say E.D., along with Michael Cohen, is now submitting this. And so what we're going to see happen whenever this happens is Michael Cohen is now going to be trying to kind of immunize himself. So Cohen is going to be blaming his old lawyer for not checking the case citations. And so there's this conflict here that exists. And so Michael Cohen got a new lawyer, and they're submitting this up to the judge who's going to review what's happening here. And so they say, they say, here, as the court is aware, I represent Michael Cohen with respect to his reply letter, which was filled with fake case law for early termination of supervised release. And now I also represent him with respect to the court's inquiry in the non-existent cases, cited in Mr. Schwartz's initial motion. So remember, it was Schwartz and Michael Cohen at first. Now, this is Cohen's new lawyer saying, Mr. Schwartz's recollection of the events, because Mr. Schwartz, his other lawyer, also submitted an explanation to the judge, because the judge said, all right, who's responsible for this? Was it you, Schwartz, or was it you, Cohen, citing me fake cases? And so Schwartz submitted his, and now they're saying, well, his response is pretty good, but we believe the court could well find them to be immaterial. They say, let me summarize for you, Judge. Mr. Cohen, oh no, Mr. Cohen provided Mr. Schwartz with citations, womp womp, and case summaries that he had found online and believed to be real. Yeah, but where'd they come from? They came from a ChatGPT or some AI. Mr. Schwartz, the lawyer, okay, so Michael Cohen is like, he's got no money. He's like, prostituting himself on lefty podcasts now. And he's a convicted perjurer. Nobody wants to work with him. His Trump grift is just going on and on. And so, in my opinion, speculating here, Cohen's probably broke. And so he's like, hey, Mr. Schwartz, can I help you with some of these fees, bro? You're charging me like $500 an hour. It's killing me. And he says, yeah, send me some case law. Because Cohen's a lawyer too, or was. I don't know if he's been disbarred yet or whatever, but was. And he says, yeah, let me just go into ChatGPT and just type in, case law. And when we read through the filings, they were wild cases. They were like 2022, 2023 cases out of DC. That's incredible. You found like 4 cases directly on point out of your current jurisdiction in 2023. That's incredible. Weird. Like you hit the jackpot, because that never happens, right? It's hard to find cases that support your argument. But anyways, Mr. Schwartz took the fake cases and added them to the motion. But look, Schwartz is responsible. He failed to check those citations and the summaries. So it's the lawyer's fault, which is true, right? It's the lawyer's fault. It's your name on the motion. So as a result, Mr. Schwartz mistakenly filed a motion with 3 citations that, unbeknownst to either Schwartz or Cohen, referred to non-existent cases. Upon later appearing in the case and reviewing the motion, this lawyer discovered the problem. And Mr. Cohen's reply letter, I alerted the court to issues with the citations, and this new lawyer, so like they knew that they got busted. And so they went and got lawyers, and then she gave replacement citations. To be clear, Mr. Cohen did not know that the cases he identified were not real. Idiot. He should have, because he got him out of ChatGPT, in my opinion. Unlike his attorney, he had no obligation to confirm as much, right? His attorney was supposed to look at it, which is true. The attorney signs the filing, and so it's ultimately their fault. And you want that to be the case. It's like attorneys, blame their legal assistants. I don't know why my legal assistant put that in there. No, like that's a hard no, right? Judges get really furious when attorneys try to do that. Did you sign it right here? Did you sign that? Yeah, sign it. Okay, then you're the one responsible for it. So don't bring up your legal assistant again. Now, and I've never done that, but I've seen attorneys get blown out of the water for that. My opinion is you got to protect your legal assistants. You got to protect everybody on your team, because they're protecting you. You got to get each other's backs. So you never blame them for stuff like that. But other attorneys have, man. I've been in court and I've seen it, where they're like, the attorney's like, well, my client told me that. And you're like, well, did you look into it? No. Well, you're in big trouble. Now, while there has been no implication to the contrary, it must be emphasized that Mr. Cohen didn't engage in any misconduct. Now, we're trying to talk about unsealing some other things and whatever, but they say Mr. Schwartz's submission does contain some privileged information, and so if we unseal some of this, it might expose some stuff. But as we've already made clear, okay, no one intended to mislead the court, which is always the case. Like, they didn't intend to do it. I'm not saying they did. Cohen just probably thought he hit the jackpot. He's like, look, all these cases support early termination of probation. well, they were not real. Certainly, Mr. Cohen should not be held to account for his attorney's failure, oh no, to verify the citations in his motion. Accordingly, we respectfully request that Mr. Schwartz's lapse in filing not be held against Mr. Cohen, and even though he looked up these cases and gave them to him. And for that reason, the detailed Mr. Cohen's meritorious motion for termination of supervised probation be granted. So sorry we lied to you, court, and cited fake cases, but it was an honest mistake, and so you should grant our motion anyways. The bravado, man. The substance of Mr. Schwartz's submission, so they're going to blame it all on him. Now, as explained, Mr. Schwartz's submission and in Mr. Cohen's enclosed declaration, which we'll look at, this is a simple story of a client making a well-intentioned but a poorly informed suggestion. And this is a prior lawyer, by the way, trusting what he was entitled to do. He thought that his attorney would vet the suggestion before just copying and pasting it. Additional and likely inconsequential clarifications are provided in response. But here's what happened. Here's the background now. They say Mr. Cohen, who was looking to assist his attorney, he conducted open source research for cases that reflected what he anecdotally knew to be true. Footnote 3. For example, Mr. Cohen sent Schwartz a real example of a court terminating the probation of someone that Cohen knew. But Schwartz did not include that in the brief. And so he sent them some good cases, but not all of the cases got included. Specifically, he sought case law to illustrate how terminating his supervised release under these circumstances would be in line with how other courts do it. Unfortunately, the citations that Mr. Cohen found online refer to non-existent cases, and Mr. Schwartz submitted them. However, it's worth noting that the underlying point is indeed not controversial and has been confirmed. Yeah, probation gets terminated all the time. Like it's not even an unusual thing. That's just why it's so ridiculous. Like people file motions to terminate supervised release, supervised probation, even unsupervised probation all the time. It's not complicated. So like you would easily be able to find good case law that would support you, but he didn't. He just plopped it into ChatGPT. Here, the invalid citations at issue and many others that Cohen found, but were not used in the motion. Oh, it wasn't ChatGPT. It was Google Bard. Oh, which Mr. Cohen misunderstood to be a supercharged search engine, not a generative AI service like ChatGPT. User error. Oh, man. So Cohen said, I thought it was just a search engine. I didn't know. Mr. Cohen had used Google Bard to successfully identify accurate information in other contexts before and did not appreciate its unreliability as a tool for legal research. Now, like most lay clients, he's a former lawyer. Mr. Cohen does not have access to Westlaw, or so what? You got access to many other research sources and standard legal research tools to verify any citations he finds online. Instead, he trusted his attorney to verify them on his behalf. Now, Mr. Cohen is not a practicing attorney, so I don't know if he's still licensed, right? Did they include that or not? And he has no concept of the risks of using AI services for legal research. Is he an idiot? Yes, he is. Nor does he have an ethical obligation to verify the accuracy of his research. But his lawyer did. He had an obligation to verify it before he filed it, which is true. Unfortunately, Mr. Schwartz did not fulfill that obligation, as he was quick to admit, to his credit, right? And that's fair. He's like, look, man, I got this annoying client who won't shut up, keeps sending me emails and case law. He's like, and you kind of feel for this guy, because he's like doing Cohen a favor by, okay, send me some research. He just copies and pastes it, files it. Like it could easily happen. Like you could see how that could happen, because you would say that Cohen's a lawyer. Like he looked it up, and maybe they're friends. Maybe they have some deal worked out. Maybe it's not a monetary thing. Maybe he's just doing him a favor because Cohen's broke. Who knows, right? And who knows what happened? Either way, they're both in trouble, and rightfully so. Now, his paralegal, Cohen sent Schwartz and his paralegal, now we got the paralegal being blamed, the citations and the summary. Mr. Schwartz and his team then added the citations to the motion, went through several rounds of revisions, in which he was not involved, and then filed the motion at his direction. He looked at it, says, that looks good. And this happens a lot, happens all the time, right? You trust your team. Now, Mr. Schwartz had a final sign off on the submission and its content, but unbeknownst to Cohen, Schwartz signed off on the motion without having checked the citations. And in summary, he included the invalid citations driven by sloppiness, not malicious intent, which I agree is true. Now, I appeared in this matter only after Schwartz had filed the motion, and I explained that I was seeking leave here and I was trying to correct this. And in preparing my motion, I encountered for the first time the citations now in issue. And she looked at them, immediately struck me as being facially flawed. And they look flawed, right? So when you look at a citation, you can see the years, you can see the locations, you can see the dates on them, you can just read them right in the filing. So for example, here's one. Okay, SDNY, that's the Southern District of New York, filed April 18, 2023. That's not even yeah, it's a case site. U.S. versus Robert Morrison, here's the case number. And so you would look at that and you say, okay, if Michael Cohen had a bunch of these, like literally in his jurisdiction, all from recent years, all with kind of weird names and like made up numbers, you'd say that doesn't look right. Now, although the government made no mention of the invalid citations, so they didn't catch it, my team and I tried to locate the cases and we couldn't find them. We were unable to verify the cases. We notified the court and we gave them the real cases instead. Now, Mr. Schwartz does not claim that Mr. Cohen told him that I provided the citations. And so now Schwartz is, covering his butt, says my sole involvement with this, writes this lawyer, was very cursory notes on an early draft. I was never co-counsel to Schwartz. I was clear with Cohen about the limited extent in my involvement. So now this lawyer is covering her butt. I just made few rather obvious observations that you or your lawyer need to freshen up. And I gave him marginal feedback, and I'm not responsible for this. And so that's why Mr. Schwartz came to, quote, believe the citations came from me, but they didn't. I had no involvement. Man, they're all pointing fingers. It's like that meme. And I have no involvement in any back and forth, not directly with Schwartz, not his paralegal, not even Cohen. But I have no reason to doubt that Schwartz thought those things. Like, it's not malicious. They're just trying to figure out what happened. Regardless, the substance of the misassumptions means to seem of little consequence. Schwartz admitted he had a duty to check the citations. He signed it. That's the rule. He did not. He candidly concedes it was a mistake, which is good, right? And so, hopefully he gets a little bit of mercy shown his way. Now, also unbeknownst to Cohen, this is not the first instance that Mr. Schwartz has been less than meticulous about this. In his May 2024 letter, Schwartz somewhat oddly referred to characterizations in they're throwing him under the bus. For example, the motion and the blog posts both contain various things. And here they say, this is true. Even a quick read of the non-existent cases should have raised an issue. For example, one of the citations purported to have a 2021 docket number, but it was also described as a matter in which the defendant served as a 120-month sentence. You go 120 months from 2021, and he's already on supervised probation? That's not right. Early termination, had Mr. Schwartz even skimmed it, he would have noticed something. Now, all of this is not to imply bad faith. There's no indication. It's just simply to note that this dude is inattentive, maybe not a good lawyer. Saying Schwartz reveals, so some of this stuff, they talk about unsealing and lifting some of this stuff up. But now we're going to get into more disclosure stuff, unsealing the submissions. Cohen does not oppose. In conclusion, says Dania, Mr. Schwartz made what is no doubt an embarrassing, but a clearly inadvertent, and ultimately we submit, inconsequential mistake and was caught, busted. By providing real sources standing in for this, they were fixed before it could mislead the court. And Mr. Cohen engaged in no misconduct and should not suffer any damage. And so indeed, he remains grateful to Mr. Schwartz. There it is right there. His longtime friend. Okay, so Schwartz was doing Cohen a favor and got totally screwed, man. And respectfully asked that the court exercise its mercy, please, and your discretion with respect to Mr. Schwartz. We further respectfully request that Mr. Schwartz's mistake in filing the motion not be held against Mr. Cohen for the reasons detailed in our reply letter. We want Mr. Cohen's supervised release to be terminated at this time. Respectfully submitted, E. Daniel Perry, on behalf of Michael Cohen. And here's Cohen's affidavit. And it's basically the same thing that she reiterated in her filing. So absolutely hysterical. And, you know, I have some sympathy, having practiced a lot and made some bad filings, you know, nothing like this, obviously. But, hey, you know, having said, you know, why is that sentence like that? Or why was that left out or something? Or why was that included? Or like, you know, clerical errors and stuff, you get kind of called out for us. Sorry, we got to tighten up our motion practice. Like, it's called motion practice. You got to get better at it. So, you know, and it's a lot of work and you're moving fast. You're dealing with a lot of stuff. This is a pretty catastrophic mistake in terms of their credibility. The judge busted them totally. Now, we'll see what happens. You know, I think Cohen's probation should probably be extended as a result of this slap in the face to the court. How dare they try to lie to this judge? Judge Furman, no mercy. Hold him accountable, okay? Make it hurt, because that's what is appropriate in this case. We know how they treat Donald Trump here. So equal standards of justice. In fact, Cohen should go back to jail, as far as I care. So that's Michael Cohen, convicted perjurer, convicted liar, idiot Googler, doesn't know what the heck he's doing on the internet, now submitting fake cases into the court and admitting it. We'll see what happens with it. We'll, of course, continue to cover all of his dumb stuff that he does. There's a lot of it. And so, my friends, thank you for joining us and subscribing to our channel as we do. And thanks for checking out our newest project, the Watcher Lodge. We're going into 2024. There's a lot of madness in this world, and we want to make sure that we're a part of the solution and building sovereignty into our lives. One thing that we want sovereignty over and freedom over is our freedom from disease and other bad things that deviate our minds from the things we need to accomplish. And so we're launching the Watcher Lodge, and we have our 2024 fitness challenge ready for you to sign up for, absolutely free. You can go over to go to watcherlodge.com. You'll see this nice website here, along with our lodge entrance, a place to say hello to other watchers, and the fitness challenge room in the lodge, where we'll be posting daily updates every single day in January of 2024. We'd love it if you joined us and shared your fitness victories, your health victories, sleeping, walking, stretching, weight training, cardio, anything that's going to help you improve your well-being. Come and share it with us. We're going to have a January launch party on the 1st, January 1st. We will not be streaming here, but we're going to be focused on fitness and ringing in the new year in nice, healthy manners. And so go over to the community calendar at watcherlodge.com, sign up and RSVP for the launch. It's going to be on January 1st, and we can't wait to see you there. And so thank you for subscribing. Thanks for joining us there, and we'll see you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. And so that is it for us on the day. Convicted perjurer and Google barter Michael Cohen admits he created fake cases out of nowhere. Trump remover SHENNA BELLOWS now facing calls for impeachment from House Representative John Andrews. We'll see if that goes anywhere. I'm not sure that it will, but we do know more about SHENNA, not too bright over there. And of course, we read through the full opinion from the SHENNA, who is now saying that Trump is no longer on the ballot, even though she stayed the entry of the removal. And so now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. Let's see what you have to say about this. Of course, we're going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. We're going to also do our Saturday show tomorrow, so come and check us out there. If you're a YouTube member, don't forget to grab the Telegram link, navigate to the community tab section, and grab the link by scrolling down. We'll see you there at the after party. But now, my friends, let us see who is in the house on this incredible Friday, the very last Friday of 2023. And we're gonna say goodbye to this year very soon. Our first dono in the house is from, oh, you know what? Yesterday we had one that we missed. Hey, Tony Hey Munkets, we missed you yesterday. This one came skidding in as soon as we were signing off. Says, can you give a shout out for @LoveButterflies on YouTube? And so absolutely happy to do that. Shout out to the channel at Love Butterflies on YouTube. I've not seen it, but if it has anything to do with butterflies, it sounds very peaceful and beautiful. And so thank you for that, Tony Haymuckets. Shout out to at Love Butterflies on the tubes. MT Coiner joined us yesterday, actually this morning on our members only stream. Says, thanks for the continued coverage, MT Coiner. Thank you back, my friend. Thanks for being a membo for 4 months. And we got today, starting us off, is Mima in the house. Good to see you, Mima. Thanks for being a membo. Says, you know, it's well known that Soros and co. are working to destroy the USA, the justice system. How come no one is legally going after them to bring these criminals to justice? Excuse my English, I speak French. It's pretty dang good English there, Mima. Much better than my French. Parlez-vous? Don't know much. So here, the question is, who's going to be doing anything about it? Who is going to take the action? So right now, there are no attorneys generals in America who are really doing much of anything. State AGs would have the jurisdiction and the power to investigate. Local county prosecutors would be able to do the same thing. In other words, everybody that we're talking about, the opposite. Okay, so the whatever the rights version of Tishy Latish James is, who is that? Don't have one. Who's the rights version of Fannie Willis? Don't have one. Who's the rights version of Alvin Bragg? Don't have one. Now, they don't have any ability to have a version of Jack Smith because they're not in charge of the executive branch. But if they were, then they could, do the same type of political partisan prosecutions that the left is doing. And I hope they do, by the way, because I'd rather our side do it than their side. Unfortunately, I wish that this was not happening in America. But if it's going to be happening, well, you got to learn how to play. Like if someone's going to be punching you in the face, are you just going to sit there and take it? Or are you going to learn how to punch back peacefully, right? This is not insurrection talk, FBI, relax. But that's the point. Soros, like where are the Republican billionaires creating all these fake groups who are filing lawsuits all across the country? There aren't any. But that's what Soros and crew are doing. But the Republicans don't have a response. We got Kim Mack as a new supporter. Welcome, Kim Mack. Don't forget to grab that Telegram link. Same thing with Abericus is in the house. Abercius is here. Welcome aboard. Newest membos. Don't forget to grab the Telegram link so we can see you here in the after party. We got Magic Stick is here. 6 months. That's 2/3 of the way to a baby. 1/3 left to go. Says, love all you do, Rob. I love you back, Magic Stick. Thanks for saying that. Have a happy new year, all. And that's right. It's coming in soon. Fresh new year. Love that nice new year smell. All right, let's see what else. We got Captain Flat-tastic says, I had a million opinions on all of this, but alas, none of it matters. However, you all matter. Happy new MAGA year, friends. Hey, thanks for saying that, Captain. Well, I think your opinions matter. I think it matters. It does matter. We all have opinions and they do matter. And so I appreciate you sharing it and being here. And happy new MAGA year, my friends. I think it's going to be a pretty good MAGA year. It's looking pretty good so far. We've got this one coming in from Scott. What's up, Scott? Thanks for becoming a supporter. We'll see you on the after party and tomorrow on the members only stream. We got Waldo's here. Says, what's up? Bringing in Waldo, bringing in 5 membos. Raven's here. Grant R's coming in. Short Bus Terror Squad is coming in. Ooh, that sounds menacing. The Real Hydro PX is here. And Cutie Pie is joining us. Welcome aboard, Cutie Pie. Good to have you. We got this one from Mountain Goddess. Says, Rob, do you think that some Republicans have been blacklisted to the point that they can't stand up to people like Bellows? It's a good question. I think there's probably some truth to that. I don't know that it would be at the Bellows level. I think that that's kind of small potatoes, honestly. It's not a small potato situation because of what's happening. But it's local governance, and I'm not sure, I'm sure there are local politics there, but I don't know why state, if I was in politics right now, I think that I'd be just going hog wild. I'd want to just go after everybody. It seems like a great way to get political clout. You just go after everybody, right? Run for state AG and start prosecuting everybody. You'll probably, it would be very messy, but I don't understand if the Democrats are making their name on this, like it's a model that must work. The Tishy Latish, Fannie Willis, all of these other people, like it's a business model now. It's a political business model. So why are the Republicans not doing the same thing? Have they been blackmailed? Are they just are they afraid of getting uninvited and going to these same cocktail parties? Do they think that they're on the losing side and that the Democrats are going to win, and so they don't want to play? It's like you don't want to hurt the people who are actually going to be the tyrants in the country, and they're just scared. I don't know. Mountain Goddess, I don't know, but I don't know where they are. I just, where is that missing fight? Even the billionaire class, like where are billionaires at? I don't know. Gone. We got Felix. We're going to have to do it ourselves, my friend. That's fine. We don't need them. We don't need those people. We're going to do it ourselves. We're just going to build our own communities that is going to be insulated and sovereign from a lot of this garbage. And they can go through their little humiliation rituals themselves. We're not going to be a part of it. Felix is here. What's up, Felix? Says, as a Hispanic, I see socialist Democrats enslaving whatever minorities. I agree with that too. I absolutely agree with that. I think that Democrats want a slave class. I mean, they want a whole pseudo class. That's what's happening at the border. Tens of thousands of people are going to be coming in with no legal status unless Joe Biden just grants mass amnesty, which is also probably coming soon. Okay, get ready for an executive order any minute where he says, guess what? Due to the ongoing crisis and the failure of Republicans to help me solve the border, we're just going to, by executive order, grant amnesty or whatever. And then we're going to see what that does to the country, how quickly that fractures everything. But I agree, like they want, until that happens, and they're going to say, we can't have that, right? We can't create this subclass of people. They are creating the subclass of people. They want them to not be like a full part of American society, and that's reprehensible. So I agree. Here, we are not a democracy. The pledge to the allegiance is to the republic for which it stands. I don't need Democrats to protect me from the boogeyman. I'm with you on that. I don't need the Democrats or the government to protect us from almost anything. They need to secure the border because they're constitutionally mandated to do it. Foreign enemies, create a basic currency that is stable, ensure domestic tranquility amongst the states, and that's it. Like, get the hell out of here, right? Protect our Bill of Rights and leave us alone. And not certainly make sure that we're bubble wrapped every single minute of every day, and then lecture us for being anti-democratic while they remove candidates from the ballot. Give me a break. Good to see you, Felix. Thank you for the very generous dono and the great comment. We got this one from Sportfish. Says, happy magnificent New Year, Rob. I like that one. Happy magnificent New Year to you too, Sportfish. Over on Rumble. Shout out to our Rumble friends. We got Dispatch, Comp is over there. We got A Job Done Well, KMSR, Dispatch. We see Skunks over there. Darth Hideous is there, chatting away. It's good to see our friends in the Rumble chat. And thank you, Sportfish, for the nice dono. Hey, we got BH Williams. Says Biden campaign decided not to file in New Hampshire because they are mad that they are the first in the nation primary. Yeah, so that's the reason. It's not like somebody threw him off the ballot there. And so she was trying to make it like, well, a lot of people get thrown off the ballot. And so we did that with Trump. And it's not the same thing. Good to see you, BH. Glocky McGlockface says, Rob, all this talk of removing Trump from the ballot got me thinking, why don't we remove every single Democrat? Not only from the ballot, but from the office if they ever encouraged illegal entry into America. This is a disgrace to my fellow soldiers and my friends, and I'm furious. Here's this story. The VA is diverting resources to give migrants medical care. Isn't that a nice story? Here's what this one says from WPDE. This is being reported. Let's just pull this up since we're here and just take a quick gander at it. Here, the VA is diverting resources to give illegal immigrants medical care. Very bad insult to our veterans. Thank you for your service, veterans. Despite having a backlog of hundreds of thousands of cases, they're appropriating resources to provide medical care for illegal migrants. Yeah. They're almost trying to humiliate us, right? By just saying, yeah, you're not really entitled. Thank you for fighting and almost dying for your country. But these people really need help. The report is by U.S. Homeland Security. The facility works with the VA. And there's the rest of the story there. Thank you, Glocky. I'm furious about it too, my man. So thank you for your service. Thank you, and thank your friends for us. Sorry our government is failing us at every step. So let's see what else we've got. That's from Glocky. Lady Ice says, OMG, why does that Bellows chick have an oil painting of Professor Quirinus Carell, who is Lord Voldemort, hiding in his turban when he possessed him above her mantle? I swear it's him, LOL. I have no idea, Lady Ice. Is that who that was? So I've never seen those movies, so I couldn't point it out, but she, you know, she kind of looks like somebody who might have a painting like that up there. With all due respect to our Harry Potter fans out there. This old guy says, I agree that the Secretary of State of Maine is clearly criminally liable. 18 U.S. Code 595. Interference by administrative employees of federal, state, or territorial governments. Simple. She ticks all the boxes. Well, what about deprivation of rights? Just like our shirt at robertgovea.com/shop. Deprivation of rights. You can't vote because of her. We've got this one from David Potter, is coming aboard as our newest supporter. Welcome aboard, David Potter in the house. Here's this one from Lady Ice. Say, is that Lord Voldemort? I don't know who that is. I don't know. I've never seen him. Interesting. We got this one from B5. Kosh says, this is the kind of thing that invokes or foments the same fury that started the Civil War. No doubt. It was not over slavery. The Civil War was started by the North exerting undue power over the South. The fight for slavery came 2 years later. Yeah, it's a complicated, obviously, history there. It's hard to squeeze into, one analysis. I with the Nikki Haley thing, like the political answer is it's slavery and, the expansion of the government and states' rights vis-a-vis the federal government. But I get your point, right? It is, what we're seeing now is analogous to this, right? You can't vote for the people that you want to, and there was a lot that went into the fracture of the country. But thank you for the comment, B5. Felix says, Democrats are fascists, says Felix. They aren't following procedures. They're not following constitutions or rules or whatever. They always believe that the party and ideology makes them intellectual, moral, and spiritual elitists to control everyone. They are above everyone, not in the club. And I agree with this. I think there's a spiritual component as well. They think that they are better, lords almost, like they have this obligation to care for everyone else. Like it's their duty because everybody else is so stupid and that they can't have autonomy themselves. And I think that when they try to take away your autonomy from you, they're literally trying to steal your soul, steal your energy, your freedom, your life force, take it away from you. Because if they can take it, if they take away your ability to self-actualize and to control your own destiny as much as you can, that's their power, not yours. They just take the energy pack out of you and just put it right in theirs. It's gross. Just Me says, here's a $100 bet. I say the SPLC, the Southern Poverty Law Center, helped write the Maine opinion. That's a good bet. I don't think I'd take that. I'd be curious if you look at all the state nut bios, how many are involved with the Southern Poverty Law Center. Let's play Rico bingo. Great comment, Just Me. Yeah, probably right. She didn't write that. Are you kidding me? She can't hardly talk. So who did write it? And why isn't their name on it? Okay, and who funded that? And where's she going after this? It's all a political hit. Just Me, thanks for that. The Blind Lawyer says, hey there, Mr. Big Time Ricada, said that he would be happy to have you on if it were not for his dang kids. He has like 20 of them, Does he? I don't know how many kids he has. 20 sounds about right. I don't know. But man, I love Nick Ricada. Yeah, he does great stuff. And we've talked a few times, but our streaming schedules are just like so off. During the day, I think he's sleeping because he's got kid stuff. And then when the kids go to bed at night, he's streaming. And that means I'm in bed. Like my brain stops functioning at about 8 o'clock. And so, you know how it goes. So we're going to we'll 2024, I really want to connect with more people. And we're going to have the bandwidth to do it. So it's going to be fun. So thanks for saying that. And shout out to Nick Ricada. We got this one from Kaiser. What's up, Kaiser? Thank you for sending the donos in. Says, Rob, if it's a witness for her case, they must be a IU grad. Otherwise, good show, Rob, and good evening, watchers. Well, thanks for the correction, Kaiser. Oh, okay, the IU grad. So that would be like Indiana University. Got it. Okay. So Kaiser of Third Age, thanks for being a membo, my friend, and thanks for the nice dono and the comment. Rob is here. CF Rob says, they are crying because they are losing. Shenna, tears. What was the name of the screaming girl at the 2017 inauguration? I don't know. The one screaming at the sky? When Trump won and her Hillary lost? I don't know. The blind lawyer says, I am telling D-Day Cobra about your show as a shout out. We'll continue to shout you out. Well, thanks for that, the blind lawyer. I follow D-Day Cobra on the X platform, and that's pretty cool. Thanks for spreading the good news, the blind lawyer. I really do appreciate you guys sharing this. You know that Google and YouTube, they really suppress us big time. And so thank you for sharing it. It's like really the only way we expand outside the bulb, because Google and YouTube, they say that our content is non-authoritative, right? And they want to elevate authoritative sources. I don't know what's more authoritative than showing the actual documents on the screen, but whatever. They'd rather have some regurgitating MSNBC flunky just copy and paste stuff and then regurgitate it and re-vomit it into Jen Psaki's mouth, which we don't care for here. Ned Frankly, bringing in 5 new membos, including Brian R., Joel R., Tom L., A Job Done Well, and Matthew S. coming in courtesy of Ned Frankly. Ned, frankly, I'm grateful for your contribution here today. Thanks for being here. Darkside Digital says, why does Shenna keep glancing down like she's reading a script when talking to O'Donnell? Because she probably is. Yeah. And you could see how painful that segment was. We got nothing new. It was 5 minutes. They threw her off. Felix is here, says they believe they are gods. They are all-knowing, all-powerful, and you better kneel. I think that you're actually right about that. They think that they have some sort of a superiority to the rest of the masses. And you could see that during COVID, right? Remember when they were saying that people who didn't follow their orders should just die? They were arguing you shouldn't have access to hospitals and stuff like that. These people are psycho, okay? They're actually psycho. Many of them, not all of them, but a large portion of them. And Darkside is here, says, and Felix is here. We also got CF Rob, says Shenna and Kamala, extra large word salad. Indict him again. Throw him off the ballot. All that happens are Trump's polls go up. We've got Felix in the house, says swamp creatures are being fed by every industrial complex fear for their lives. Swamp creatures being fed by every industrial complex are fearing. Well, I hope that they fear some end to their monopoly. You know, I don't want them to fear for their lives, but I understand you're saying that colloquially. They fear for their futures because the grift is about to come to an end, right? All this green energy grift, all the things that they spend on, endless wars, infrastructure projects, inflation reduction infrastructure. It's all a grift. And it's time for that to come to an end. Thank you, Felix. Very generous today, Felix. I really appreciate all the support. Thank you a lot. We got Super Buff Shaft is here. What's up, Super Buff? Says good lawyers not suing and going after. Why are good lawyers not suing and going after the treasonous 65 Project lawyers for RICO crimes? Well, again, so it's a great question. But again, RICO, that would be a prosecutor who would bring those crimes, like Fannie Willis. So good question. I don't know. Why aren't county attorneys, like the opposite of Fannie, doing something? Scared, probably. They're probably afraid that that they're going to anger the left and be attacked, maybe lose everything. Maybe they'll put them in prison. Now, they are why many won't take election cases or sabotage them. It's a mob ring. It's happening all over the place. It's not just with lawyers. We saw it with doctors back during COVID. The list goes on. And they just try to censor people who are enemies. Like they take out enemies. It's no longer a fair game. Okay, now they'll just cut your legs out from under you. We got this old guy says, Rob, I bet you'd love to get Bellows on Cross. I know I'd love to watch that. She seems incompetent and not even intelligent. And it's wild that she's in a position where she can make these decisions for all of America, because it's a domino effect that will compound, right? Some other secretary will say, see, she did it. Felix is here, says GOP are feckless weaklings. Maybe Judge Napolitano said on air on Fox, maybe the left and the right wings are two wings of the same bird of prey is right. I think that's probably true. Two sides to the same coin. I mean, they both want endless war. Both are okay with the border. Both are okay with spending into oblivion. What's the difference between them, really? That's why they both hate Trump. That's why they want him to be set aside, so that they can both ransack the Treasury. One side goes first. They get fat off the trough for 8 years. Then they turn it over to the other side. So one side gets fat, grifting off the American people, while the other side complains that they're victims and they fundraise for 8 years. And then they say, it's our turn. Give us the feeding trough. Then they all go over there and they get fat off the trough, start another war, and then the other side fundraises. It's like this round and around we go. Thanks, Felix. Ray K's in the house. This one from Ray K says, as an outsider Canadian, Vivek has said it much stronger elsewhere that neither Trump nor Biden will be on the ticket in whatever sinister way they make that happen. In the words of Playin' Hooky, what is plan B? So Nikki Haley, Nikki Haley, or whoever the Democrats slot in aside from Trump, aside from Biden. I really, I have some concerns about Trump. Like about them not allowing him to take office, like literally. And I don't know what that looks like, but I've not seen anything like this. Nobody's seen anything like this in American history, where they are willing to wreck every single institution to stop him. It's crazy. 4 indictments, removal from ballots. I mean, what's happening in this country is a real serious fissure that I'm not sure the consequences are really even being understood right now. But it's a big thing that's happening. And so if they're willing to do that at this stage, it's not even 2024 yet. We're not even in the middle. Like, let's fast forward 6 months. What if Trump's up 10 points? What are they going to do? I don't know. So, I think they're still going to try everything possible to convict him. We'll see if Chutkan makes it happen or not. And that's going to be a lever point to throw him off as a convicted felon. The RNC might be colluding in this. Who knows what happens? So Vivek has been saying it's Nikki, and I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, but I think it is. Hey, Viantic has shared one that we'll skip. We'll leave that for the after party. Glocky says, time to remove Biden from the ballot for treason and order the arrest of every general that didn't do anything to stop this. This is unbelievable. A link over from the Intel Frog. We got Lady Ice says, obviously the plan is for these brave actors to be eliminated in pursuit of these ridiculous, unconstitutional cases to the bitter end and go down with the ship no matter how stupid and evil they appear or how blatant their racketeering operation comes to be. Knowing that if SCOTUS has a shred of integrity, that they're going to fail on appeal, but feeling like they are kind of a hero in doing this, taking a hit for the greater cause to, quote, save democracy, whilst ironically destroying it in the process. Good comment, Lady Ice. Yeah, it's not. I can't believe they don't hear themselves and think to themselves, I'm a psycho person because I'm saying I'm saving democracy while I'm disenfranchising hundreds of thousands of people. Pinochet's helicopter tours says, isn't defrauding a court a really big deal? Yeah, it is a big deal. It's not okay what they did. And that's why the judge is so furious about it. Like, he's ordered them to show cause. They've all got lawyers. Like, it's a big deal. And I don't know that it's like a disbarring type of a deal. Like, he should make it hurt on them. But I do believe it was innocent. It's not like they were actually trying to defraud the court in the way that I think about it. Like, trying to maliciously say a witness is somebody that they're not or something. Present evidence that is not actually accurate, right? It was not intentionally malicious, but yeah, the judge is still furious. Air Force Vet is here, says, my New Year's resolution this year is to figure out why I have never kept a New Year's resolution. Well, Air Force, that's because you haven't been a part of a 31-day challenge that you can be a part of now at watcherlodge.com. Sign up there, 31 days, After 31 days, you've basically accomplished your resolution. Okay, you've done it. You've now integrated some good habits into your life, and it is accomplished. So come and join us. Watcherlodge.com. We're going to do the live stream on Monday, the 1st, where we'll talk about fitness. We got Knox is here, says, got here late, but we'll rewatch. But thank you, Robert, for all you do covering all this stuff. I could never keep up without you. Well, thank you, Knox. That's a really nice compliment. And I'm grateful to be able to spend this time together going through these things. I think they are important, and I'm grateful that you are joining us as we unpack them. Have yourself a beautiful time on the rewatch. We got Boy Wonder Robin in the house as our newest supporter on the YouTubes. Don't forget to grab that Telegram link. Mima says, not going to be here for a few days. Oh, but I'm going away in the middle of the woods, which is an awesome alternative. If you're not here, probably no better place you could be. I want to wish you a very happy new year. Thank you, Mima. Same to you. You are the best. Happy New Year to all. Sending lots of love to everybody out there, and God bless. God bless you back, Mima. Have a very safe trip out there in the woods. Bathe in that nature and come back restored, and we'll see you when you get back in the new year. We've got Stephen Evans says, Robert, what is your reading of Section 5 of the 14th Amendment? You want me to read it? I don't know. Let's take a look. What is my reading? You're going to have to give me a little bit more than that on what, unless I look at it and there's something clearly that stands out here. What is my reading of it? Congress shall have the power to enforce, oh, I see what you're asking, by appropriate legislation, the provisions of this article. So I think if I can just infer from your question, what is my reading of it? You're saying, what is my reading of it relative to to Section 3, probably, let's say. And so we actually just read this in the filing, but you could say this, okay, Congress shall have the power to enforce this, and that should apply to Section 3. And so Congress, the enforceability of Congress would be executed, let's say, by impeachment. Okay, so by appropriate legislation, they could either pass something to say Trump is illegitimate, or January 6th was an insurrection, and therefore people are precluded under the 4th. In other words, it makes it not self-executing. Congress has to execute something. And in my reading, as we've talked about here at length here, is that this insurrection should be defined by Congress, right? And Congress has already charged and acquitted Trump from insurrection in the impeachment process. So I think that supports our interpretation. Lady Ice says, Rob, I don't even know how many babies we have now. I can't keep track. I think I am halfway to number 4. We got a whole fam, Lady Ice. Man, and so halfway to number 4, that means like 9 times 3 plus a half. That's a lot of months, lady. Lady Ice in the house. Thanks for being a membo for so long and for having so many babies with us. We got Johnson in the house, says, like the southern states took Lincoln off the ballot, now we're all seeing history repeat itself. Right, and that was a big launching into the war. Like, look at that election. What was it, 1860? And everybody was taking each other off. It was all a mess, and they declined to honor each other's results, and the rest was history. We're kind of right there again. Pinochet says, when the FBI wants to talk, I remind them of 18 U.S. Code 1001, and hopefully the FBI, that's not a common occurrence for you, Pinochet, but it's good you have the statute. We got Crash says, Rob, I found a case without ChatGPT. It's in the comments. Well, that's good, Crash. Hopefully you didn't use Bard. We'll take a look at it on the after party. Boy Wonder Robin says, hey, here's a question for you about immigration. Can't Texas just put these people back on planes and send them back to Mexico City? Tell him they're going to California, but send them back to Mexico City. So, you know, I don't know. They'd probably charge them with crimes for kidnapping or something, you know, promising people that they're going somewhere and not going. Like, I could see the DOJ charge them with a crime for that. Like human trafficking or something without their consent or something. Like, they would be sued and maybe even charged. They're threatened about being sued right now as we stand on it in Texas. Thanks, Boy Wonder, for the nice comment. We got Economath says, did you catch my tweet to you? Spotted an interesting detail in your stream yesterday. I have not seen it, Economath. I'll take a look at it after the show, though. Thanks for sending it in. I'm not sure that I did see it. Harry Newhoff is here, sending in a nice dono. First super chat. Thanks for sending that in, Harry. Very generous. Mark B's in the house, says, good job today, Rob. Thank you, Mark B. I do appreciate you. You are the man. John Allen's here, says, hi, Rob. Thank you for another great stream. Unfortunately, mostly working and lurking. But since V is back, I felt the need to make him work hard for his slacking time. Zach, that means you have to leave this one for V to clip. All right, I guess that's enough ribbing on the slacker. Yes, we all missed you, V. And shout out to the amazing mods. Have a blessed weekend and happy New Year's to all in the Watching the Watchers group. And that's a great comment from John Allen, the man. Thank you, John, for being a mod and modding down the fort for us. Oh my goodness. Look at this one, my friends. We got some serious donos coming in, courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man in the house. Look at all these membos, man. Dolphin Fan. Oh my goodness. Look who's here. We've got 50 new membos. And so new membos, everybody, if you're a membo on YouTube, make sure, grab the Telegram link. Go on into the community tab section on the channel homepage, scroll down, grab the Telegram link, and we'll see you there. Barcaro's here. Third Proverb. Francis W. Archangel's joining us. Welcome aboard, Luke. M.A. Allen. Lenny's here. We've got another one from our friend. Oh my goodness, look at all these here. Deacon's here. Maureen's here. Alicia. Daryl B. Bob J. Randall W. Melissa D. Pickle Jars for Hillary, which she can't never open. Clint Burrows is here. And another one from Bozena is in the house, coming in courtesy of Dolphin Fan. But we're not done yet. We got James F., Jackson S., Princess M., Ron's here, Jason W., Squatch. Well, we got Noah L., Ron H is here, Aaron A., Alex W., Jeff H., Krista, Jeanne S., David D., and Lovely Uni is in the house. We've also got some more coming in courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man. Patrick Chick, Patriot Chick is here. Sichu is here. Donald Y. D. Brown, Clown World Observer, which is, we're all a part of that one. RF, Logan H. Steffi's coming in. H. Heath, Oz M. Cruise Vet Adventures, Chuck R. Winston, Jeff L. Keto in the Kitchen with Pat. That sounds fun. Jesse J is here. Carol W. And we have another one from Die Saber is in the house, coming in courtesy of Dolphin Fan. And lastly, but not leastly, our friend Phil Swede. Welcome aboard, Phil. And Dolphin Fan is the man. Thank you, Dolphin, for bringing in all the 50 membos in the house. You are amazing. We've got C. John, been a membo for 10 months. Our newborn is just now moving around. Hey, Rob, thanks for being you. I'm currently in the ER with possible kidney failure. Oh my gosh, please say a prayer. See, John, we're definitely going to do that for you. So my praying friends out there, send some good love and some good energy to our friend C. John, currently in the emergency room, kidney failure. And John, we're going to be pulling for you, my friend. You know, there are hopefully some very good people I know taking care of you as it stands right now. And so we'll be here waiting for the good news and the good update from you that everything is back on track. And so we're praying for you. Hang in there and get well soon, my friend. Thanks for being a member, and we'll see you soon. We've got the blind lawyer. Deprivation of rights, you mean? A 1983 claim? On our t-shirt. Yeah, at robertgovea.com/shop. Exactly that one. Pinochet says, here's the founder of fascism, is Giovanni Gentili. Much like Adolf, he looked for a third way between communism and capitalism. The Weimar wants their policies back. From Pinochet's helicopter tours, Giovanni Gentili. Dolphin Fan, hey, happy birthday to Dolphin Fan. 50th birthday today. Happy birthday, Dolphin Fan. You are the man. I hope you have a tremendous birthday, a 12/29 birthday, and it's great to see you, my friend. Well, thanks for celebrating with us and bringing in 50 new membos. I love you all. We love you back, Dolphin Fan. Very happy birthday to you, my friend. I hope you're celebrating and having a beautiful night tonight. Pinochet says, it would be great to get a Geeks and Gamers collab. I'm not real familiar with that. I don't do a ton of gaming. I used to like, I mean, when I was a boy, I used to like real-time strategy games. We talked about this at our member stream this morning, Command and Conquer for Life. But do they talk politics in the law? Maybe if they talk politics in the law. V says, okay, everything's a scam, everything's a lie, everything's hypocrisy. I will not comply. That's poetic. That's our writer, V. who's got books out now, We got Woodchip Bill says, to that point, Rob, will the military obey orders from Trump? Good question. I think if they're lawful orders and legitimate, I think that they would. Hopefully more so than they follow them from Joe when he tries to insurrect the country. Pinochet says, if you think 2024 is going to be bad, just wait until January 2025. Yeah, well, that's kind of what we're talking about right there. I think they're probably planning for the same riots that they were planning in 2020. We know that they told us that they had a whole plan B if Trump were to win. And so that's probably what they're going to plan again. We got Johnson says, I think your RICO idea is a true reality. Like you just said, it takes some bullocks for our side to do it. Some cojones. Yeah, they got to do something, but they don't. I don't know what they're so afraid of. Falling says, what's up, Falling, over on the Rumbles, says old, Carrie Lake SCOTUS, new, vice president to replace Biden. Many states equals Biden only DNC. And I'm not sure what that last thing says, whatever that phrase is, but K Lake SCOTUS, Carrie Lake going to SCOTUS, VP to replace Biden. Interesting comment. Many states equals Biden only DNC. Well, that's probably true too. They're controlling them like they are the DNC, throwing Trump off the ballot. Knox is here, says Colonel McGregor, Luke from We Are Change, and others have opined that there will be no election due to some, quote, national emergency. I could see that, right? Internet situation, new pandemic, whatever. We just went through round one, and there's precedent for it now. We got John Allen says, Rob, here's another one for V. Sausage, sausage, sausage. Said with an evil laugh. Mwahahaha. And V says, I'll remember this, John. You're in big trouble, buddy. He's not going to forget that at all. We got the Watcher Lodge Fitness Challenge. Make sure you're going over there. We got 20 more membos. Oh my goodness. From Dolphin Fan is the man. Unbelievable, Dolphin. Sharing your birthday wishes with us. We got Dolphin Fan is bringing in Wild Horses, Matt O, Chris N, Feline Fun, Sandy's here, Bill P, Knowledge's here, Okatsu's joining us, Almighty Snoopy's in the house, Timmy W, Tony N, George of the Jungle, Lawful X, Tina M, Slap Murphy, Al B, Waffles for the People, delicious, Josh W, Miles J, and Mrs. Rocket Softball. Amazing. Dolphin Fan, you are the man. Happy birthday, man. Thanks for sharing that with us and for being so generous on your big day. I hope you have a tremendous night tonight, celebrating away. We got Glocky McGlockface says, Jonathan Turley was just swatted. That's great. Jack Prosobic said that. He's like the 7th high-profile person this week, and others were all conservative lawmakers. Yeah, they're using law enforcement now to attack conservative commentators. Amazing. Air Force Vet says, hey, and guess what political party it was that took Lincoln off the ballots too? Any coincidence? No, it's the Democrats. Yeah, they're usually responsible for the wrecking of America. Hey, and Boy Wonder Robin says, are there laws against judges slandering people? Yeah, I think that they would be if they actually slandered people, but proving that, outside of a legal opinion would be a tall order. They've got very, very big amounts of immunity as judges, and they're not, liable for that. Hey, Zach Nichols and Jigum. Jigum's here, says, gotta go. Have a great day, everyone. So glad to be part of the live show. It makes my day. And this is from our meme smith, Jigum. The meatball. Shine that big, beautiful meatball, baby. That's right, Jigum. And that's what we got to do every day. Shining those big, beautiful meatballs, because they're so dang delicious. We got Stephen Evans says, does the state Supreme Court or Secretary of State have the power to enforce the 14th Amendment as per Section 5? So my reading, so thank you, actually, Stephen, for clarifying that. It's a great question. I say no, right? I say that the process of the 14th Amendment, Section 3 in particular, you got to have a congressional finding. They don't have that. Or if even alternatively, you got to have a conviction for that. But my opinion is you got to have the impeachment and the conviction before you get the actual charges. So I say no. Maine says yes. Colorado says yes. That the Secretary of State can self-execute the 14th Amendment, even though Section 5 of the 14th Amendment reads as it just reads. They say it's self-executing, and that's what gives them the power to do this. Now, let's say hello very quickly to our friends on the X platform before we jump over to our members-only after party. And thank you, everybody, for those incredible donos. Very generous today, and I'm appreciative of that. Over on the X platform, who is joining us? We got some nice comments in the house, and here's what we got. Says, Mary Paquette. So when you go to Vanish, you just got to buy something. You just got to purchase something. And the link is at vanish.com/Robert Govea. Here's George. Thousands of eyewitnesses, no evidence. Laura's here, says there are not enough hearts to thank you for exposing this evidence-free decision line by line. Great work. Thank you, Laura. Loving the volume, says George. Crazy how corrupt it is. I always knew things were corrupt, but now this is beyond belief. Ohio Supreme Court is also booting someone off due to some shenanigans. Dark Side Digital is here, says these hypocrites and hypocrites, called Democrats, are all for the Constitution until it gets in the way of their gaining power. From Dark Side. Hey, Thomas Murphy for Senate says, Rob, it'd be interesting to have you in a couple spaces to speak about this. You've tirelessly documented and explained for years the information surrounding Trump and Biden. Yeah, you're right, man. There are some really amazing spaces out there, and I'd love to have the time to do them and get out there. I'm going to try to work on that. We're clearing out all of the to-do list here at the end, and the lodge, the Watcher Lodge, is going to be a big part of 2024. I'm so glad to have finally shared that with you, because now we can start building in public. And a part of that is going to be interfacing with other people and having conversations with them. So doing interviews and building our knowledge base. And so it'd be a lot of fun to talk with other people who are interested in sovereignty in all of the 5 areas. Hey, Danny says, yesterday you said you're 38. I lost a bet, figured law school, law firm, and now retired. I thought you'd be mid-40s. You just look younger. No, I mean, I went pretty fast. You know, I went right from college, right into law school, right out of law school. I worked for other firms for about 2.5 years and then started our law firm immediately. And it's like, yeah, 38. It's like already in my second career. It's kind of a wild situation to be in, but the world is funny, you know, and you keep trying things and you keep trying and failing. I've tried a lot of stuff and failed at it. And in the midst, side things here and there. What else do I want to do? And life is strange. You know, here we are. So thanks, Danny. Hey, Fred says, Rob, not to be a downer, but 3 of my lifelong closest friends all died within 10 days of each other in December. Oh, man. 56, 56, and 59. Fred, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I'm sorry that happened. And may they rest in peace. May their families have some peace in their losses. It's absolutely awful. We'll remember them. Says, I couldn't go to a funeral because 2 were on the same day. Oh, gosh, that's just painful. And so, yeah, Danny says, is removing Trump from a ballot a form of insurrection? I'd say so. I think that's appropriate. And so those, my friends, are our comments on the X platform. We are going to wrap it up, go over to a very short members only after party, but we will be back in the morning for our Saturday stream. Before we leave, want to say thanks to the mods and the meme smiths who mod down the fort for us and keep things nice and orderly. Our friends, V Antica's Prime, K Beans in the house, Just Cause, Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geo, Zach Nichols, John Allen, Jen Eck, and of course, Dog Digger, all modding down the fort for us, along with our meme smiths, Geegum Geegum, Sleepy Dog Lee, Nathan, and 810. We had 2 other comments come in at the last minute. Pinochet says, can you look into Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution and see if the people can effectively brand politicians with a permanent scarlet letter? I don't think that's something the Supreme Court will approve or the FBI would approve. But sure, we'll take a look at Article 3. It's Pinochet. Thanks for the suggestion. Boy Wonder says, claiming false facts in illegal opinions is legal. Well, I mean, the judges are not going to be happy about that. Yeah, so I would not recommend putting false facts in court opinions. But my friends, thank you for all those incredible donos. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for just a few short minutes to wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow for members only on our Saturday stream. We'd love to see you there. If not, my friends, we are not going to be here streaming on Monday, but we will be at the lodge. So go to watcherlodge.com, sign up for our fitness challenge, RSVP for the calendar event. We're going to go through, by the way, some interesting stuff. I shared my weightlifting routine there. So if you go to the lodge and you click the fitness challenge and you want to see my 4-day split routine, you can get it right here. My 4-day split. If you click this section, this box, it will pull up the actual, my 4-day split. And I'm going to explain exactly how this works. Shoulders, legs, back and biceps, and chest and triceps. And so that's all available for free. You can just go check it out, download it, print it off, and start running through it. But I'm going to explain how I use it and how it works at watcherlodge.com. And a lot of other cool stuff is coming on. We're going to talk food sovereignty. We're going to talk anonymizing certain aspects of your life. If you want to do that, I got a whole thing queued up for 2024, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But my friends, that is it for us on the day. We are going over for a short after party. We'd love to see you there. But if not, well, we're going to be back here on Tuesday. The year is going to be 2024. It's going to be a fresh year. It's going to be incredible. And I hope to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful, beautiful weekend. Make it an incredible and safe new year. We'll see you back here in 2024, my friends. Make it a great night, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.